Yeah, it's my anniversary present.
There you go.
On vacation and I was looking, and I thought that it's a 33-inch one. So.
All right, you want to bring in a few with some hot water?
Okay, so we called with her. She had, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we didn't know if she hit her head or not. I didn't see any obvious deformity, bruising or anything.
CSM collar too?
Yeah. And she was moving both her arms and hands and everything. She had pulses there. But she was complaining of right arm pain and was complaining of pain down her spine as far down
guys,
as I could
we're
reach.
live here, so they can probably hear you. So.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to I'm logging into our website to put the Zoom link on. I mean, the YouTube link on. Give me 1 second here.
Hospital. How do they move them from the cot onto the bed? Don't they use the slide board?
Depends. Most of the time, it's gonna like.
Because Amy said everybody grabbed a little bit, moved it over on the sheet like normal. I was thinking during the final protocol that the way
So you're supposed to,
move
so if you do that, you're supposed to have some C-spine spot, hold the pain and that stabilization. Well, it's on your account.
right.
The whole time.
Did somebody maintain the
Yes.
slide?
Yeah. They held that.
Yeah, I was just curious because I thought they were supposed to use the slide board for that, but.
I've seen them before.
Can they still do that?
What's going on? We're gonna do the same thing. Hit the red button. So we get the whole, hey, it was like 10 to 3. I'm getting something from the radio, and we're like, oops.
Oops, get the emergency.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa, are you ready?
Give me 30 seconds. I'm just looking to make sure the link went onto the website.
Okay.
I'm almost there. Yeah. There. Okay. Yes, I am ready. The link is live on YouTube. So after we do that introduction, then I'll put everybody in the waiting room.
Okay. Terrific. Terrific. Okay. So do we have all our board members? Jim, is that you on the lower right corner of my screen there?
You can't see me, right?
I know, it's just giving you a hard time.
I'll rename you to be Jim.
I see,
There you go.
I see your phone receiver. Okay. There's some background noise. Whoever is making all the noise, please mute your phone. So, as chair of the Northwood Board of Selectmen, excuse me, as chairman of the Northwood Select Board, due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. In accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, executive order 2020-04, we're authorized to meet electronically. There's no physical location. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming the following. The public has access to the meeting by telephone, with additional possible access by video or other electronic means. The select board is using an electronic Zoom meeting. All of us as board members and participants in the meeting have the ability to communicate extemporaneously. The link for this for the board members is on the website. There's public notice of this meeting and access for the meeting on our website also. I'm asking folks to, instead of using the Zoom meeting, to please use the YouTube video access. Last meeting, we had trouble with the Zoom meeting, got overloaded, and we had trouble conducting our business. We would really appreciate it if folks that are directly participating in the meeting would go off the Zoom meeting, go to the website, look at the YouTube link and use that. If we do have problems, we're going to start basically kicking people off in an attempt to keep the meeting going. And I'd also mention that you can dial in, phone in, and that doesn't chew up any video capacity. So there's a mechanism if you are having problems, and that is to call Lisa or email her. Both those contact points are also in the website for this meeting. And just one other point, if the meeting has difficulties and we cannot communicate as we should, the meeting will automatically, per my notice here, be adjourned. There won't be a vote, it'll just be automatically adjourned. You should also note that all votes are going to be taken by roll call. So I'm going to start the meeting with a roll call for attendance. Jim Hadley.
Yes.
Beth Boudreau.
Yes.
Matt Fry.
Here.
Tim Colby.
Here.
And Hal Kreider. I apologize. Okay, so that's my bad. I did not mute my phone. I'm sorry. Okay, so I think we're all set. Just for the board's information, we did receive a couple letters. One was a little too late yesterday. We did receive one late last week. And on that one and one that we held, I'm going to ask the board to review those in non-public so we can decide whether they're going to be read or not. I want the board's input and guidance in terms of how we're using our citizens forum process that we voted on last week. So I'm going to ask the board to help me go through that. Okay, so first up on the agenda tonight is the Bow Lake Bridge. There's a bid opening meeting on Thursday this week. I don't know the date. I guess it's the 21st. To be blunt, there's some uncertainty as to whether the board needs to be there as a quorum or whether just a representative or whether there's not. The contract details we're still trying to investigate. And so I think personally that the safest thing is for us to appoint a representative for the select board, to appoint one of the select board to be our representative. And that representative would have all the rights that we would have as a board and also all the privileges thereto appertaining. And that way we're covered in terms of at least, we having one person to go to Concord instead of making sure we have three. I'm open to suggestions as to alternate means to do that. Otherwise, I'd like a motion to the effect of what I just mentioned.
Al,
Jim.
I I could just mention one thing. When we got the response from NHMA Legal, they did say that one selectman could attend virtually.
I missed that point, Jim.
They also said that we should err on the side and notice the meeting.
Yes, we're definitely going to do that just in case it turns out that later we find out there's a quorum required.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, as far as the bid opening, they won't announce, like they'll announce the bid, but according to DOT and the engineer, it has to go to the lowest bidder anyhow. So once the bids are open, they're going to do their due diligence anyhow and make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
That's correct, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's finish up with what we're going to do for this meeting. So do I have so to your point, Jim, do I have a motion to post the meeting just in case?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second from Tim. Discussion. Okay, hearing none, roll call vote. Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to post it just in case we need a quorum. And I guess we're going to also post it because if 3 of us can attend and it's able to be done via electronic means, then maybe 3 of us will, and therefore it's good to have it posted anyway. So thank you for doing that. Do I have a motion to just in case we can't get a quorum there, do I have a motion to nominate somebody to be our representative at the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second on that? Second by Beth. Okay. I was sort of hoping that somebody would volunteer themselves or volunteer somebody.
I'm working, so I know I definitely can't get off. It's short notice, so Matt?
Matt
I
and Beth.
volunteer Matt.
Actually, Beth, you know what? Hold on a second. Beth said earlier that she might be free, and Beth, I think we should offer it to you first since you spoke up first.
I don't mind. I can go to Concord.
Okay, I don't know that it's absolutely required. As Jim said, we could probably participate electronically. So if you can't drive in or don't want to take the time to, that's fine.
Is Chris going to Concord?
That's exactly what I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman. I mean,
Good, Matt. Yeah, good. Yep.
do we need it to be a member of the board, or does it make more sense to have the Public Works foreman be the one to head out there?
Okay, there's 2 parts to that, Matt. I think the one part is, I think we need to nominate somebody as our representative from the board, and I believe that should be a board member. In addition, I think Chris should participate however he feels it's best to do so. Personally, I think it'd be good for him to go out there and maybe not shake hands, but at least see the people face to face. It's a chance to, get to know them and all those types of things. But I view that as 2 separate issues. Again, that's just my opinion. If other folks want to rule differently or make a motion differently, that's fine. But yes, Chris is our point person on this, so I would hope that he is definitely involved, regardless of how we handle the selectmen issue.
Right. No, regardless of how you guys are going to do it as a selectman, I planned on attending the meeting anyways.
Perfect.
Just so I can be involved.
Okay, very good. Matt, does that address your question or concern?
It's fine with me. I just want to make sure that we're utilizing our resources in a way that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to put Chris in the position of having to speak for the selectmen. That'd be a little bit unfair for him. I don't mind having another select board member being in that position though.
Well, my question is what would need to be said in that meeting?
Don't know, and that's part of the issue. This particular contract spans back several years, several TAs, several different people. And so it has not been definitively read, and it's a sort of belts and suspenders approach. I don't want to get to the meeting and find out that, oh, yes, the select board needs to, handle this little item or, something, and then we don't have the capability of doing it, and then that means we have to wait another week, or they can't do the evaluation because there wasn't some kind of check. I just want to avoid that situation if we can. Did that answer your question?
Generally, I just think it's, yeah, I'm good. I'm happy.
A reluctant yes.
That wasn't a warm fuzzy. They're sealed bids, right? I mean, so I thought in the past, I've been to, meetings sitting on the outside of the selectmen, and you guys have always opened up the sealed bids. Is the engineer going to open them up for us, or does like Beth?
I mean, that's a perfect example, Tim. That's a perfect example. I'm not sure.
Undo the envelope and give it back to the engineer to make it official? I mean,
I don't know. And that's
we're going to
part
have
of
it 2 days, so when are we going to know?
Well, we aren't going to know till we get there because, quite frankly, we don't have the contract all read and all the details known.
I thought we were going to look into maybe moving it out to the parking lot or out in the white garage at our place.
Not going to happen. It was already amended to be in Concord. They noticed everybody for Concord. They couldn't change it.
Okay.
That was unfortunately done and sealed.
Is Beth, I mean, you available just to make sure if something happens, Beth, you represent us?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, just for example, Tim, we're just starting to dig into the details of the contract, and I don't know what it says, and I don't know whether, subparagraph 3A, subsection C says, oh, and at the bids, the select board representative will unseal it and, like you said, pass it on to the engineer, or whether there must be a select board. Don't know. And quite frankly, in the past, I've watched our bid openings being done at the select board meetings, which means there was a quorum present. Don't know if that means it was a requirement or just hey, it's a public venue, we're doing it now. Don't know.
Will I make a motion to give Beth the authority to act upon the 5 of us for that day?
Yeah, that's what I would appreciate, yes. Matt.
I just want to be very careful that then gives Beth the ability to accept the bid in that moment, if we're going to word it that way.
Or, I mean, you get a better word, help me out.
It's not a meeting to accept the bid. It's a bid open.
We just gave her the power of the board, or we're about to vote to give her the power of the select board. So we just need to be careful with our wording.
Well, I'll retract it if you have better wording, Matt. It's up to you. I just want to, at least see somebody there to cover us.
Al?
Well, hold on a second. Matt didn't finish. And then I'll get to you, Jim.
I think if we just say that Beth is there as the representative of the Board of Selectmen.
For the bid opening?
For the bid opening.
Okay, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So
okay.
moved.
Okay. Do we have now hold on a second. Jim, go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. That's what the engineer said. Just a bid opening. And it's a public reading of the bids received.
Okay. And then, okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on that? Okay, so then roll call vote. Matt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Hal, yes. Okay.
So someone's gonna let me know where it is and what time and all that, right?
Yeah, and
you can probably carpool with Chris. Doesn't he have his pickup truck or the little white one at the town hall be able to use for that day?
I'll just drive. It's okay.
You might want to go shopping afterwards. Okay. Lisa, would you please send Beth the addendum, because that has the address and the contact information and the phone number. Okay. Next up on the agenda, late breaking news. The rec department has a motion that they would like to have us consider regarding the town beaches. I'm going to let Matt handle this.
So with Memorial Day coming up, there was some discussion from the recreation director about getting the beaches opened up. Diana did a great job of checking the state guidelines and seeing what makes sense for us here in Northwood. So the motion I'd like to make, and you should have received information, all the supporting documentation later this afternoon or early this afternoon. I forget exactly when it came out, but the motion is to allow the recreation director to open town beaches in accordance with the state guidelines, including maximum occupancy signage and enforcement beginning Friday, May 22nd, 2020.
Okay, so Matt, you're making that motion?
I am making that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Beth. Thank you, Beth. Discussion.
Al?
Jim, hold on just a second. Tim had his hand up first.
Didn't the governor just come out with something about not opening up the beaches? I just saw it on my Channel 9 pop-up on my phone early this afternoon, but I'm not quite sure. I didn't get into it because I got off work late, but
I believe he said he was going to wait until after to see how Massachusetts was doing or something like that.
Okay, let's recognize that the motion is, I'm sorry for interrupting, and Jim, I'll get to you. The motion is per current state guidelines, meaning whatever they are at the time. Is that correct, Matt?
That's correct. Also, what the governor was talking about was the ocean beaches, not the inland beaches. Those are still up to municipalities.
Okay. Jim, you had a question.
Yeah, the only comment I want to make, Bob Young sent us a couple documents earlier this afternoon one was addressing the reopening of town beaches. So I don't know if anyone has had a chance to look at that, whether it's pertinent or whether Bob is online now, or if he wants to mention anything about it.
What's the board's pleasure? Do we want to hear from Bob Young?
I think it would be quicker for him to talk to me to find it, to read it.
Would you unmute Bob Young, please, Lisa? I thought I saw him on here. Yeah.
He's here.
I did. He just.
Hello, Bob.
There you go.
How are we doing? Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Yeah, I've read through what Diana had sent out, and I'm perfectly fine with that. She's gone through and she's going to have the appropriate signage, and we're looking at keeping it closed during the week. It respects what the state is looking at doing in terms of trying to keep people safe.
are the picnic tables all spaced out? Do they could be by that time? Do we have picnic tables at our beaches?
I think that's a question.
I can handle it.
Matt?
So there are picnic tables at the beaches. Some need replacing while we're on the subject. But yeah, so Diana's plan is to go in and do all that spacing. She's got a plan for all of that. And on some of our smaller beaches, you know, that maximum occupancy is probably going to be single digits, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, we've got the resource. So if one or two families are the lucky families that day, so be it. You know, it's going to get people to the beach nice and early on a Saturday morning. So I think the question that we do need to address is one of enforcement.
That's what I was just going to ask. Who's going to?
And what happens if there are more than the maximum number of occupants on the beach? Are we going to ask the PD to help us enforce that?
What would be the normal policy if there was other infractions?
It would be to enforce, yeah. So if the police department were to go by and see someone drinking alcohol on the beach, they would handle that. So I think it's probably no different in that regard.
Yeah. Whatever guidelines we're following, we're implementing, then we ask the police to enforce it.
So maybe, wait a minute.
Sorry, just as a heads up, I know that the recreation director and the police chief have actually been in conversation.
I was just going to ask that if they've been in contact. Good.
Pursuant to all of this, yes, they've been talking.
Let's give it a shot.
Further discussion?
Does she have anything to add to that?
Was she here? Oh, rare recreation.
It's recreation.
Oh, I'm sorry, Diana. Should we let Diana speak quick?
Is she?
There she is.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, everything that has been said, I added on the paperwork as well. Just definitely the signs are going to be up. I'm going to put myself out there and monitor. I'm going to specify that the open hours I want are 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. I mean, just like retail stores that are shortening their hours, I'd like to do the same where, I have the ability to go out through the day and monitor. And I am noting that we do have the right to send people home if they are showing up and there is way more people. It's overcrowding. We do want to really enforce that social distancing. And
Will that say that on the signage, just to cover ourselves and cover you?
Yes.
If it maxes out, we have the right to kick you out?
Well, I'm going to post it on websites, the town website, Northwood Recreation, and Facebook as well. I'm also wondering if I should do some kind of like mail notice. I don't know, but I'm just getting to know the beaches as well. So I'm not sure like if it's just residents nearby the beaches that are the first ones to be there, or anyone around town drives there. So I'm not sure like who,
Beth?
So just a question. If you can only have like maybe like 1 or 2 families, what happens if like, just say like the Fries and I go there and we're there when they open? Do we get to stay the entire day if we choose to? So no one, would that?
I'm questioning as well. Like, I don't know how this is going to pan out. Like, if people are there all day, I'm not trying to like kick them out there. I mean, they got there, they're spending the day. It is what it is. I mean, I just feel that people are going to show up anyways. And it's like, why not officially open it and, let it be with signs, and just that we're, taking the necessary precautions with the COVID right now. I mean, rather than just kicking people off, while it's nice weather and stuff.
Matt, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. I think it's important for us to have our guidelines in place in order to be, clear and fair. But there was plenty of days last summer where it was us and another family at Bennett's Bridge. So I don't think the issues are going to be enormous, but I do think that it's important for us to at least. This motion gives Diana some leeway in terms of operating that beach as long as she's staying within the confines of the governor's orders. And I think that's probably the smartest way to do it.
I would echo that. That's what we pay Diana to figure out. She's going to be on the ground assessing the situation. If something comes up, she can discuss it with the chief, the police chief. And if we need to make adjustments at our next meeting, we can consider doing so with her guidance. But we pay her to figure this out. I think we should trust her to do it. Beth?
So if we're going to make signs, I'd like it to at least say that you need to have your beach parking dump sticker, that's part of it.
I'll be in the beach notice that I have, not in the actual signage. I think everyone, in the past, isn't that how it's always been? It's just posted on websites.
Well,
Matt, hold on a second. Matt, let Matt respond, please.
So one of the things, and Catherine just sent a note to me with this reminder that all of the signage that we're making in regards to social distancing and all of that, we'll be able to track that as a COVID expenditure and shoot for some reimbursement. So it's probably a great time to, I think Beth's point is a good one. This has been an issue we've had for years. So if we're making new signs related to social distancing, it can't hurt to tack on an additional line that says, P.S. you need a transfer station sticker in order to park here.
Okay.
Ooh, bonus points for that. Okay. Okay, so I think I interrupted Beth. You want to come back with another question, Beth, or?
Well, the other day, we happened to pull into the beach, Northwood Beach, we were still in the car, and there was 6 cars parked there, and not one of them had a Northwood transfer station sticker or a New Hampshire license plate. So,
okay, well, she's going to have the police enforced. We'll see how that works.
oh, they were called.
Was that Diana speaking or Beth?
That was me. No, so I'm just saying that it's already been a problem now. So definitely get the PD, in on it too. So thank you, Diana, for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Anything else on this discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. I lost my pen. Oh, there we go. So, Tim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Hal, yes. Okay. Thank you, Diana. Sounds like you're on top of things and really appreciate your diligence on this. Okay, next up on the agenda is oops, hold on a second. I see now Lisa's waving her arms. Holy mackerel.
Just for the record, we're unsure if you voted on the first motion about the Bow Lake Bridge. Hal, can you just vote your yes or no's just because we're unsure?
I'm pretty sure I did not vote.
Thank you. So can you just vote for the record, please?
So on the Bow Lake Bridge, for Beth to be the representative, I vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just speak up at the time. Okay, so next up on the agenda is a general apology from the board for conducting business that should have been conducted in public during the non-public session. There was a discussion regarding work office, the work at the office schedule. We had a motion and discussion regarding that the selectmen would set the work schedule for when people work at the office. So like I said, my apologies for not catching that and making that into a public discussion. So right now we are going to reaffirm what we voted on in non-public here in public. So the motion was to have the select board set the schedule for when people work in the office. And it has to do relative to COVID-19 and when people are back at the office X number of days per week or full time. And the motion had to do with the selectman, not the administrator, setting those parameters. So I'm going to ask the board members to vote. I'm going to ask that you vote the same way you did on the honor system, the same way. If after we vote and people want to then maybe change their vote, you have to do it via reconsideration, and I'll give you a chance to do that. But for right now, I'm asking that people vote the same way that they did in non-public so that we recreate what should have happened in public. So, Jim.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Matt.
No.
Tim.
Yes.
Hal. No. Okay, so that was the vote that we took. If anybody wants to take any additional action relative to that vote, now's your chance. Okay, hearing none, the next thing we need to decide as a board is how do we implement what we just voted on? In other words, we voted to say that the selectmen are going to do that. Now we need to determine how we actually do it. And I'm just going to make a suggestion to keep things going and moving along. I'm going to make a suggestion that there's a lot of details to work out. They need to be coordinated with the town administrator and possibly the other employees. I don't think that's something that would be conductive to a select board meeting. So I'm going to ask if there's a motion to create a select board subcommittee specifically for this initiative or whatever you want to call it, with the idea that that subcommittee would handle all the issues. For example, I sent out a list of things that we needed to consider. Jim sent out an example of a schedule we might follow. I think those are all good things to consider, but I think it should be something that a subcommittee works out all those details, and as we go through the implementation, also follows through to make sure things are happening the way they should. That's my suggestion. If others have other suggestions as to how to do it, you can make a motion for that. But we need, I think, to agree on how we as a board are going to implement what we just voted on. Recognize if we don't vote on how to implement it, it's just going to sit there.
Hal,
Jim.
I didn't hear the last part of what you said. Are we voting now to set up a subcommittee, or?
That was my suggestion. And I apologize as board trying to, come up first with something. But I felt that we at least needed something to start the conversation. So that was my suggestion. It's not a request.
Personally, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, if you'd like to make a motion to that effect, then that's fine. I'm not asking for a motion. If somebody wants to make that motion, they can.
I will make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Okay, Tim. Tim had a second. Is there discussion? Tim, go ahead.
So who is this gonna, how many people on the committee, the breakdown?
That's up to us. If we're going to do it via the committee, and thank you for the starting motion, Jim, I think maybe that needs to be part of the motion. How many people, and maybe even specifically who. So if we want to have that as part of this discussion and then amend the motion, that's the way I would suggest it. I'll just be honest with you, just to get things started. I got enough things on my plate. I got a lot of stuff going on one of the other boards that I'm on. So I am reluctant to take on this additional task. So I would probably refuse to be a member or ask to not be considered for this subcommittee. Does anybody in particular want to be on the subcommittee, or who? Do we have some volunteers, I guess is the way I'd ask it.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Jim?
No, I just want to, this is something I'm going through at work too, bringing people back more days a week, et cetera. So I am very interested in this, and I'm very interested in this whole COVID-19 and the impact it has to employees, coming back with more hours to the workplace. And I agree with what you sent out, Hal, several days ago, listing several of your concerns. I mean, it is a very serious issue, and I think we have to take it slowly and we have to take it seriously. But I would like to serve on this subcommittee.
Well, thank you, Jim. You do a lot on the BudFin and some of the other committees, so I appreciate the additional effort that you're going to put out. That's in addition to volunteering to help stuff the tax envelopes too, incidentally. So, Beth?
Jim, if you can do it on Friday, I'll do it with you.
I can do it Fridays. That's my best day.
Like this Friday, or?
I just so I can interject here, I think it's going to take more than just one meeting. I think you're going to meet, set some parameters, decide on how to do certain things, get them started, then continue to cycle. I don't want to misrepresent what's going on here in my mind.
Hal?
Yes, Jim.
I can just follow up with Beth. Beth, you're going to Concord that day, right?
No, that's Thursday, Jim.
Thursday.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, Friday I am open. Can we get a third person to volunteer?
Matt, I thought I saw you raise your hand, but
My question was simply one of clarification. I've heard the word committee and subcommittee used. They're not interchangeable. Which is this?
I guess since it's a subgroup of ours, it's a subcommittee.
A subcommittee to the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
Then we can't get a third member.
Oh, I guess that's a good point. Is it not? Okay, so it sounds like we should amend the motion to have Beth and Jim be the office work schedule implementation subcommittee. Jim, are you willing to amend your motion to that?
Yes.
And do we have a second on that? Thank you, Beth. Is there further discussion? Matt?
So I just want to state publicly that I think this is a terrible idea. All right, that it's not a good use of taxpayer funds to take over one of the major components of the job of someone that we pay fairly well with taxpayer money. So taking that out of the hands of our town administrator and putting it into the hands of the Board of Selectmen, who does not know the staff, doesn't know the ins and outs of the day-to-day operations nearly as well as the town administrator does, is it is misuse of public funds. And I just want to say that I think it's unnecessary, and I think it is a poor decision on the part of this board, and I am 100% against this.
Okay, so Matt, I just want to direct this correctly. To me, it sounded like some of that had to do with the initial vote, but I think to your point, are you also trying to make a point that maybe Heather should be part of this committee?
It sure sounds like it's something that she should be a part of to me, whereas she knows the day-to-day operations, she knows the ins and outs, she knows the staff. If we're going to do it without her, we're not going to get an effective outcome.
Okay. Jim, are you willing to amend your motion to have the committee include Heather?
No, can I just make a quick comment about that, Hal?
Sure.
Tim and I were elected on March 10th, 10 weeks ago, and I have never seen our town administrator in person since then. I'm not saying that negatively because I know she has health issues. I'm just saying I think 2 members of the Board of Selectmen are more than qualified to determine what's in the best interest, the people's interest in Northwood, as far as getting people back to work at Town Hall in a safe manner.
Okay, Matt?
Mr. Hadley demanded that we ask the land use specialist her thoughts and opinions on whether or not she was assigned to the budget committee. To this point, no one has asked the staff how they feel about their assignment being handed over to the Board of Selectmen, who doesn't know them and doesn't know the operations of Town Hall. So we've taken this out of the hands of the person who understands how to do it, and we're taking it upon ourselves. It's foolish. All right, if we're going to ask people what they think for one thing, we need to do that across the board. And right now, the decision that we've made, again, that decision's made, and there's not a lot I can do about it. But at the very least, the subcommittee needs to be made up of people who understand, know, and care about the day-to-day operations of town.
Okay, so do we have a change in motion or not?
No, no.
Okay, I'm not hearing any change. So we're going to vote on this motion if there's no further discussion.
There is further, oh, it's not pertinent, never mind.
You want to say more, Matt?
No, we have more information from members of the town hall staff, but it's more pertinent to the decision that's already been voted. I was kind of hoping that people would realize what a mistake that was.
Matt, to that point, the decision was made, and I made the point that folks could reconsider. I did not hear anything, so I think that decision stays firm.
I think it's a telling decision.
Okay, we're going to vote now on the subcommittee of Beth and Jim.
I have a question. So the reason why I voted the way I voted was because I'd asked for a plan. What were we going to have a plan so we could take baby steps into getting back to normalcy? I had asked that several times and I didn't get an answer.
Understood. hold on a second. We need to address Beth's. So if that's was part of your consideration for your vote, and you think that affects whether or not you want to move forward with this whole thing, then you have the right as a voter in the affirmative to ask for reconsideration, and you can make that point as part of the reconsideration. So if you'd like to do that, that's fine.
Well, I'm just frustrated because 5 weeks ago, I asked if we could at least work 2 days a week. Remember, Hal?
I do
And we
actually.
didn't get an answer. So we keep on putting things off and putting things off.
Right.
That's why I voted this way.
Yeah, okay. Well, that explains your vote. But I guess what I'm asking is there, now that you've said that, does that influence you or make you think that you want to reconsider your vote? Because if it doesn't, then we need to vote on this.
I guess I would not reconsider because still as of yet, I've yet to hear a plan.
Okay. So we're back to Matt, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Mr. Chairman, the person who would create that plan got cleared to come back to work this week, 24 hours ago. So I would ask Selectman Boudreau to reconsider the question and give the town administrator a chance to get this figured out. And if in the preceding week it doesn't meet your expectations, then we can reconsider this yet again on Tuesday when we meet.
Hey, it's up to the board. Okay, I'm not hearing any further discussion or changes, so it stands. And we're up to vote on the subcommittee of Beth and Jim implementing the work schedule relative to when people work at the office. It's a roll call vote. Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
No.
Tim?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Hal? No. Okay. So again, I just remind the subcommittee members, this is a probably ongoing thing till we get this straight, I don't want to say straightened out, until we're back to normal, I guess is what I'd say. So depending on how long the COVID-19 thing lasts and what adjustments we need to make and changes, you're in it for the duration. So good luck. Okay, yeah, Jim.
A quick question, Beth. Did you say this Friday? First meeting?
Well, Beth, you're muted.
Yes, I can meet Friday.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get in touch with you, email or whatever for a time.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yes,
Matt,
Matt.
I'd like to make a motion for subcommittee meetings on this subcommittee to be publicly noticed and publicly aired so that those who are going to be directly impacted have the opportunity to participate.
Do we have a second on that?
So we're not just going to go for transparency.
Can you say that again, Matt? I didn't realize I came unplugged for a minute, my audio.
I would like these subcommittee meetings to be noticed and publicly available so that the people who will be directly impacted will have the ability to participate in the process.
Okay, Matt, can I clarify, please? As a meeting of the town, it's always open. So I think what you're asking is...
We're meeting not in town hall, so people are going to need to know how to participate in this process.
Right. Well, I think you're also asking that the people that either would be affected or need to know about it also have the ability to take the time to participate. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
meaning that they can listen in.
Meaning they can hear the discussions that are happening.
Okay. Because like I say, the meetings have to be held in a manner that's public. So I think the only addition that you're really saying is that if they're held during work hours, you want the workers to be able to take the time to listen. Is that what you're saying?
I would like that, and I just want to make sure that if it's held on Zoom, that the Zoom information is shared widely, including with town hall staff.
Well, again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but any meeting of the town needs to be a public meeting. There is no private meetings like that.
I'm just clarifying because Mr. Hadley said.
Well, I'll
it's
second
Selectman
that.
Boudreau.
I'll second that.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion?
Al,
Yes, Jim.
is it possible for Beth and I to hold these meetings in the town hall, the large room, as long as we're, 10 feet apart?
I think that's up to the committee. I don't think we should get into that.
Okay.
You can work out whatever you want to work out with Lisa. If
Can
you
they
need,
live stream that through the town hall?
well, it's a public meeting. The public has to have access or notice. So yes, if you want Lisa to set it up, she will. I mean, maybe I'm missing something on this. I mean, like this will be no different than, for example, like the safety facilities meeting. That's going to be on Zoom, and the public will watch. And help me out on this. Am I missing something, Matt?
What was the budget subcommittee between you and Mr. Hadley aired?
No, it
Was
wasn't.
the finance committee?
No.
So that's exactly my
left.
concern.
Okay, so we need to do that. You're right. You're right. Okay. I think that's a point well taken. So noticed and yeah, we viewed it more as a working thing, but I think you're right. Even that we should just notice and have public. Lisa, can you make a note of that, please? Lisa, go ahead.
We did create the separate Zoom account for committees, so we have that readily available to, and even if I can't be there, we can give the information over to whatever the committee head or chair is. So that's always available.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that would relieve the need to have you there and running all of them. So I guess the way we'd say that is folks like myself who might be in part of a subcommittee need to learn that skill.
Okay.
Matt.
I would just like some clarification that in the meantime, until we hear a report back from the subcommittee and then vote on findings and recommendations, who is in charge of scheduling the town hall staff in the meantime?
Hold on a second. I'm trying to process that. Say it again, Matt. I'm
Matt,
not.
would it still be the way it is now, working the 1 day a week, wouldn't it?
Well, but we voted to take the scheduling out of the hands of the TA. That vote has been taken. Until we have recommendations from the subcommittee, I don't know what that means for town hall staff. If they're not told when to come in, I don't know how they're supposed to know what to do.
So is the schedule only set week to week? Right now?
I believe so.
It's up to us at this point, I believe, Tim.
What's the board's pleasure?
Al,
Jim, go ahead.
last schedule I've seen, weekly schedule, I thought ended May 8th.
Right, and I think that's the point Matt's making. We took over the scheduling. How do we want to handle it?
Right, but the last.
I think what Jim
schedule-
was saying, that the last printed off copy that we all got was the week of May 8th. So there hasn't been nothing the last couple of weeks that we've seen who's there. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, so this past week, I have to say, I thought I saw a schedule for the week of the 15th, but maybe not. Lisa, what did you publish?
Which one are we talking about?
This week.
Well, hold on a second. The office schedule, did you publish the one for last week? I thought I saw 2 of them.
I might not have gotten it published for this week. I can send it
I
literally.
understand you didn't do it for this week. What about last week?
I did it last week. Yeah, I sent it to you.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
last week was published. What's the board's pleasure for this week and going forward? Beth? Now, Beth had her hand up first, Jim. Go ahead, Beth.
So I would say, I would think that we would continue doing the 1 day a week we are now, and any change would start in June.
Well, any change would be up to you and Jim whenever you decide. So it's only this week until you make your decisions on Friday.
Right, but if we make a decision on Friday, it can't be effective until we all talk about it and vote on it, right?
Well, you can, okay, I guess what I'm thinking is you as a subcommittee can decide to keep the status quo and direct town hall to publish that schedule as the status quo. Okay, you know what? This is raising a question in my mind. I'm sorry to do this to everybody. I'm just going to say it, Matt. Based on what you said, I guess I'm unclear as to the subcommittee's responsibilities. Is it their responsibility to sort and figure this out and bring it back to the full board? Is that what we decide? Is that what the gist of what we decided? Because I guess I have to say that I was thinking we delegated this to the subcommittee. That's why I kept saying, you guys work it out. You work through the details with the town staff. You make sure it's implemented. If there's questions about the cleaning getting done, you check out and see if that's been done or not, the whole bit. Maybe I misunderstood.
I would include the stay-at-home 2.0 employment guidelines on that list.
Yeah.
Checking temperatures, maintain,
that
overseeing health,
stuff
all of that.
All that has to be figured out and scheduled and implemented and managed. And I guess I thought by that vote, we delegated it to Beth and Jim. And if I'm wrong on that, somebody needs to speak up.
Al?
Well, hold on a second. Beth had her hand up first, Jim. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Jim and I will be meeting on Friday afternoon or whatever, sometime on Friday. Obviously, we're not going to say, starting on Tuesday, everyone, changing your life. That would be wrong.
Understood. Understood.
Okay, so I'm thinking like June would be the earliest.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is it's up to you and Jim, and this is just my interpretation of the vote, and if we have to go back and revote, we'll do it. But my understanding is you and Jim set the schedule. If you want to set the schedule as of right now to be status quo for what it was last week, that's your right. We gave that authority to you. If on Friday you say, we don't know enough, we need to consult with people, we need to make these arrangements, whatever, we're going to stick to the same thing for another week or several more weeks, up to you guys. I'm going to just be very blunt with you. I thought we delegated it to you guys. So whatever you decide is, we trust you. We trust you 100. I trust you 100%, just like I was saying with the rec director. Trust her 100% too. So if you're uncomfortable moving ahead, to 2 days, to 3 days, to 4 days until X date, that's fine. We just want it done right, and, you know, we're trusting you to do it right. I apologize if I misinterpreted somebody, better speak up now, because then we need to revote or reconsider or something.
Al,
Jim,
just want to add that, Bob Young is an excellent resource on this, and, Beth and I plan to tap into him as a resource. So this isn't something that, we'll take lightly. We understand, the major concerns that all employees have, not just in Northwood. This is a nationwide thing, and, some states are ahead of the others, and I think Governor Sununu has been very cautious in, phasing things in and making sure controls are in place. So Bob Young, I think, is the best resource that we could tap into, and we plan to do that.
well, I think, I'm just going to say this. I think Matt is also recommending that you talk to Heather. Again, you're the committee. It's your responsibility. We have trust in you to get a hold of the right people and to do the right thing.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Matt had his hand up, so I want to let him speak if he wants to.
I just want to say it's going to be really important to address all of the issues in the universal reopening guidance from the state, including identifying who's going to be in charge of things like tracking temperature daily as people arrive to work, who's going to keep track of whether people should be in the office or not, etc. There is a wonderful guidance from the state, but somebody needs to be in charge of it. It would have been the town administrator, but we took this out of her hands.
Okay, again, Matt, I don't mean to belabor the point. We voted as a board to put our trust in these two folks.
I'm just reminding the subcommittee of quite how substantial their charge is.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I guess what I'd like to do, unless there's further questions, I'd like to suggest or ask the board if they would feel comfortable if they have questions or points that they'd like the subcommittee to take into account. I'm going to suggest that you send them to them in a polite, encouraging manner. Because I don't envy the job. I'm going to be honest with you. Let's encourage them to get it right. Beth, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. So as of now, we can all agree that it's staying status quo, like how we're doing it until we actually meet and discuss.
Oh, I see. I'm getting your, yes. Yeah. Technically speaking, as of 10 minutes ago, you had that power. And if you want us all to say we're maintaining status quo till you have a chance to meet, I don't have a problem with that. If anybody else does, please speak up now.
I'm just confused as to who is. I guess I need to hear from Beth and Jim, if that's the case.
What do you want to hear from them, Matt, please?
If status quo is in fact how we're proceeding, then I'd like to hear that from the subcommittee, I guess.
Okay, so Beth said status quo. Jim, are you agreeing with that?
Yeah, we haven't met yet, so I mean, we haven't had a meeting, so we can't make any recommendations.
Okay. Okay, so status quo it is. They're going to meet, and it'll continue to be status quo until they specifically change it themselves. I think that's really the only way we can handle it, because even after they meet, they still might not at that point be ready to make any deltas or changes. Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, so then I'm going to move on to the part-time hours policy for the fire department. There were some questions regarding people working more than 29.5 hours in a given week. There was some discussion that it might be possible for the hours over many weeks to be averaged or somehow evaluated. I think Catherine stepped into the fray on this, so I'm going to ask for an update from her on all the ins and outs of this situation. Catherine?
Hello. Yes. So, in regards to ACA, it is kind of, it's dated legislation at this point that has been somewhat rescinded, but not entirely in the full effect of the law. Essentially, what our requirement to do is to pick a point in the fiscal year or the calendar year. I would suggest November, just as it being close to the end of our current operating calendar year of December. And look back over the last 12 months, and it's looking at the number of full-time employee or FTEs, full-time equivalents that the town actually has. And at that point, we'd be required to offer a position, a health insurance. It's not based on, person. It's based on the number of full-time equivalents. And so it's based on a rolling average for the past 12 months of 30 hours or more per week. So you would look at all the employees, all the hours worked, divide that by the number of weeks in the past 12 months. And if there are more full-time equivalents than currently being offered health insurance, at that point, the town would be liable to offer the insurance coverage for whatever new positions are now considered full-time equivalents from that point going forward. So it's not a look back item. And if the town neglects to do that, they're just subject to a penalty.
Okay, so Catherine, I'm sorry. Do other members of the board have any questions for Catherine?
Is that your knowledge through the labor board and all that stuff? I mean, obviously you're the subject matter, so go ahead.
Yep, this is direct federal guidance for ACA compliance.
Okay, I guess I have a question. Oh, Beth, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because 2 summers ago, the state came in and audited because we had people working over. That's why it was all brought up.
Right, so there must not have been somebody, every year this should be performed by, town hall staff, the personnel, whoever's in charge of the personnel process offering benefits, and whoever has the ability to access the records to look into this. So this is something that should be done on an annual basis. It would be probably good to get some directive as to, when this should occur each year. And then have it be an annual thing that's reviewed so that the town is not subject to an audit again or further fines or fees.
Other questions for Catherine?
So this is annually. I thought the last time somebody told me that it was quarterly, and that's where you guys got the fines from. This is annually from the labor board?
It is annually.
Okay, I have a question. Catherine, you said that we take all the hours worked by everybody, divide that by what, please?
So you're essentially you're essentially calculating the number of full-time equivalents. So the way that you do that is you look at the individuals worked, the number of hours worked for the year, divided by the number of weeks for that year, and then you come up with the average amount of hours worked per week.
By employee.
Correct. And like I said, it's not like you have to offer those employees. It's the town has to consider whether they have more full-time equivalents that they have to offer benefits to at that point.
Okay.
Based on the position.
So when did we last do this calculation? Any idea?
I would refer to the town administrator on that.
Heather, do you know by any chance when we last did this?
From the records I looked at, because I looked at this back at the beginning of the year, it was done about a year ago, right when the audit was done.
We officially stated that our date was
We didn't officially state. We talked to the auditor about it last summer when they came in. And we talked to them about it, and they said, well, this is something we should look at. And they said, what are you looking at for time frame? Catherine is suggesting November. Our benefit year runs July 1 to June 30th. So he said that would be a fine period of time too, to use that period of time.
Okay, there's a couple factors here, but let's not get into that. Let's make sure we understand it first. So I guess that really the question is, how can we set a date to do this when we don't know the last time? Because, I mean, we could pick November, then we could pick April, then we could pick June.
We have to set a consistent policy, and I think that's one of the things we have to set for policy, but we need to look at a date and make that date and just do it every year at that date. I know it was done last year when we had the auditors in, and the auditors are in last summer. So I just don't know the date off the top of my head because I'm not in the office, but we can check into that. But when they were there, I looked at that because we had a conversation.
Okay, so you're saying we, at least as of last year, did it the timing was based on the audit?
Yes.
Catherine?
Just having heard what Heather said, that's a great point about the benefit period, because that would be ideally the point that you would offer a new full-time equivalent benefits would be during the enrollment period. So June, I think, would be a good time to take a look at that.
Okay. Beth, go ahead.
So could someone come back to us and say that they had worked full-time and we did not offer them benefits? Would we be penalized for that?
It's not a look back as far as I'm understanding. She said there's no retribution. It's all going forward. We'd have to offer them going forward.
And it's a percentage.
I think we should get this in writing from the labor board.
I think she has. No, Catherine?
I'm happy to provide the guidance that is readily available online to the board if it would help.
And we are getting that from the legal lawyers too. I think I copied you on that request.
Do you know when that's going to be back from legal?
What are we actually asking legal? Let's find out that first. Are we asking them when we have to set the date, or are we asking them if we're doing it correctly?
I think, Hal, I think I copied you on all the questions I asked them. And if we were
Yeah, but I can't remember.
Okay.
So you can't go based on that.
We have a right to choose the date. We just have to have a date set.
Okay, so that's one thing we can do. So Beth, what's your question in terms of what we need legal guidance or labor board guidance on?
If we can have part-time people work full-time hours. I don't want to be penalized.
I think Catherine stated that, but if you want the documentation, we can get it.
Yeah.
That's fine. How do you want it?
Email's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want something from a Department of Labor? Do you want an email from somebody in the Department of Labor? Do you want their documentation on their website? Specify it so she gets it the way you want it.
Well, the labor board issued the fines the last time, correct?
Right.
So
what do you want? Do you want that Catherine to go onto the website, pull up their current website data? Do you want her to contact somebody at the Labor Department and ask them for an email explicitly stating it? Just tell her what you want and she'll do it.
maybe stating what we got caught on the last time, and is if we have these 29 or 30 hours now, or the 15, I don't have it right in front of me, 1560 for the year. And if we go over that, what's going to happen with the benefits? I'd like to see that.
You already know that, Tim. If we go over it, we're going to offer them benefits. We have to. There's no choice.
Okay, then, okay.
I mean, she said it.
Okay,
if we
then
go
we
over,
don't, so, I mean,
So
they're
they do-
part-time.
on the date that we specify, they do the calculation. If we're over 29.5 hours average for that person must be offered benefits. It's not a question. So we need to decide the date, but otherwise I personally don't know what else there is to ask. So Beth, you have to clarify exactly what you want from Catherine, because I'm missing it.
Well, I guess we have a vacancy at the fire department, so are we looking to fulfill that vacancy? That would then alleviate some of this, the overtime, well, not overtime, but over 29 hours. I guess I'd like the labor board to say what we did wrong last time, so we don't do it again. Like what we did wrong and what would happen. I don't know.
Well, I can answer that for you. We had employees that worked more than an average of 29 and a half hours.
Then I would vote no one can work over that.
Why were they able to do that if they were on a part-time basis? Why did it get out of hand?
Heather? You're on mute, Heather. You're still on mute.
There. I'm gonna get you guys a copy of what the labor board findings were and get it out to all of you. It's in my office. Even if I'm not able to drive in there myself, somebody will go in there and get it, and you'll get a copy of that. I do not believe the findings had to do with the whole part-time hour. There were a bunch of other things that had to do with the way people were paid on stipends. So let me get a copy of that and get that out to you, and then you can see it. Because read the document, and I think you'll understand it better. There was a whole finding on the labor board and what we got fined on. I think we need to have some clarity about what we're talking about before we move forward on this.
We talked about this at the last meeting, so why wasn't this available to be emailed out to us now if you have it somewhere in your office?
Because of the discussion we're just having, Tim.
Okay.
I just asked now, what specifically do we want? And we're still having the discussion. So now's the time to state, what exactly do folks want, please? And then we'll get it. If we don't have what we need, you need to say, I want this, I want it in this format, and so on. So please do that. Don't, Tim, say what you want, please.
I wasn't at the last meeting.
Now,
Mark, go ahead.
so the one of the safeguards that Catherine is implemented is live real-time tracking of hours for all employees in ProFund. I believe it's ProFund. So we can monitor it month to month or week to payroll to see how people are doing and is approaching that 1,560 hours. If people are getting close, we can cut back or manage their hours so we're not exceeding that 1,560. Is that correct, Catherine?
Yes, that's correct. The only thing about that is turned on effective as of that date going forward. So we won't be able to do a 12-month look back this year. That will have to be next year that we can review that in ProFund. But going forward, that doesn't say that you don't have the ability every quarter or however often you deem fit to review your department, your employees' time. And this is for all departments. It's not just fire department. Every single person that is paid hourly, it's all entered and tracked now for every single town employee.
Okay. So again, I don't mean to be so testy about this, but we've had several meetings, and Tim, it's not just this particular topic where we don't quite always seem to get the information we need. And I want to be a stickler about this because I want to start getting these things on the agenda, get the correct information, and get it off. So please, let's specify exactly what we want. Heather has said that maybe the information about what exactly the fines were related to and what the criteria for getting fined were would help us. Does anybody have anything else that they think we can, that they think we need so that we can put this to bed, hopefully at the next meeting? Anything else we can think of? Because again, we just chew up a lot of time on this. I'm sorry, but okay. So Beth, are you comfortable with getting that? Will that help, or do we?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, okay. And then Catherine, I think with that coming out, maybe just include. You already included in what you sent the other documentation. Is that not correct? The overall policy and stuff, or do we still need a copy of that?
I'm sorry, which policy are you speaking about?
The 1,560 hours, the average, that states all those rules explicitly.
Yes, I can send that out.
Yes,
I can send
please.
out to the board through email. Just please
Okay.
let me know if there's anything else you'd like included with that.
Okay, Heather?
And I will send you as you know, I think I copied you, Hal, on that I had started sending emails to get a legal opinion on Saturday. Still haven't got it back because of some issues, but as soon as I get that back, I'll forward it off to the board.
And what, okay, so
There was a whole
refresh my memory. What are the questions we ask legal?
We asked, it was about 9 different questions about the 1560, the whole process about what we're talking about the fining and when do they check in and is there 95%? Because we have to have 95% of people full-time equivalency. We have to offer them. What about the other 5%? Can't we decide who those are? Equivalency. So I asked those very specific questions and legal said they would get back to us on it. So.
Okay, so that sounds like other good information to have. Can anybody think of anything else? I really would like to put this to bed if we can. I mean, we need to do it right, but I get a little concerned that we can't seem to get through this. Okay. Anything else that we want to go over on this? Okay, so this will have to go back on the agenda. Kat, never mind. Okay, I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess so we can take a bio break, get some water, tea, or whatever, and then we'll start with the fire department operations shortly. So 5 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief. Did you get my email?
I don't know. Let me look.
I got you those timesheets so you could look back for any additional COVID hours.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll look at those tomorrow and see if we can come up with anything.
Perfect.
Maybe get
Thank you.
a few bucks back. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I was talking just to myself. I apologize. I don't see Tim though. Oh, there he is. Okay, good. So just one last final comment on the last discussion. I had a thought on this that maybe will help. I'm going to ask that Catherine and Heather try to get the things that they mentioned to us as soon as possible. And what I would appreciate from the full board is that once you get it, please try to take a look at it, digest it. And if we still don't have everything that you think we need, please get a hold of me and let me know, and I'll work with everybody to try to get whatever else we need. I'm just really serious about trying to get this wrapped up. I want to get it right though, and I want to do it as a board. So, please, when you get the info, try to look at it expeditiously and give me some feedback so that we can do that. So let's see, I see myself, Tim, Jim, you still there?
I do have a quick question, Hal.
Sure.
Do we have a non-public session after this?
None is, I did not have any items on the agenda for it. We can certainly discuss if we want to and vote on whether we want to go into non-public after this.
Okay, I do have a personnel related matter that I think should be a non-public.
Okay, please think about it while we're going through the next item, and
okay.
And I think you're going to have to justify whether we do it tonight or whether we can push that into next week. So just keep that in mind, okay? Okay, if we're ready, then I'd like to move on to the fire department operations. Just for background for everybody that's listening in, actually, I guess several weeks, if not a month and a half or so ago, there was a few questions that came up regarding the fire department operations. And I asked folks to list out their questions so that we had them and could, formally ask the chief. Well, that turned out to be quite a list of questions. So what we did was we took all those questions. As you can imagine, some of us had the same questions as others. We took those, we categorized them into 6 or 8 different categories of different topics. And so the venue tonight is going to be that we're going to ask the chief, category by category, to make a short presentation related to the items or things brought up within those questions. So we'll let him do that. And then after he's made that short presentation on that particular topic, we'll open it up for clarifications and questions. And that includes if the individual selectmen want to re-ask specifically their question, that's their time to do it. I know there was some question as to whether we're going to ask every single question or not. It's up to you guys. I'm hoping that this venue where we get a short presentation by the chief, by doing that, he answers as much as we can so that we can move along expeditiously. But if you have questions that you feel didn't get answered or you feel you have to ask, then let's do it at that time. I'd like to, in general, given that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 7 items, of which some of them the board's going to have to deal with. So what I'd like to do is just in general, see if we can't target to do one topic approximately every 15 minutes. We'll see how we do on that. We'll see how it goes over the course of the first couple. And then if we have to make adjustments or we want to change the venue or the means that we're doing it, we'll do so. But I do ask that we give it a try for at least a couple topics and see how it goes before we make any changes, because it'll take a little bit of time to get used to. So Chief, I guess we'll leave it up to you what order we want to do the topics in, but the ones that I have are job description, maintenance and training, staffing, finances, management, performance, and then we as a board do have some items that we need to discuss. I don't think they're really for the chief to address, but when we get to that point, we can take a look at those and decide how we want to handle them. So I'm going to suggest that we do those last so that we can let the chief get started and kick things off. Does anybody have any questions at this point as to what we're going to do or how we're going to do it? No? Okay, if not, then Chief, we'll let you get started. Just announce what topic you're going to discuss first and kick us off, please.
Okay, so the first topic I wanted to present was there's some questions on job description and working chief and so forth. So I'll address that first. So I Googled the term working fire chief and actually came up with nothing as far as a definition for that. But I think maybe defining what an administrative chief is might help to better define what a working chief is. In my opinion, an administrative chief is a chief that works in the office 95% of the time, does not go to calls on a regular basis, may go to a multiple alarm fire, but typically is not a first responder, gets there when the fire is, when he has subordinates that are running the fire and kind of supervises the scene. So with that in mind, clearly I fall under the category of a working chief. I answer more calls than any other firefighter on the department. I have performed numerous tasks, including driving apparatus, working as a healthcare provider in the back of the ambulance. And like I said, my response speaks for itself. So there was some questions about job description. And there's a rumor that my job description has changed, and I don't believe that to be the case. I don't believe my job description has changed, and if it has changed, it was approved by a previous Board of Selectmen. The only change I think I may be aware of is they tried to make the format of all the job descriptions similar, and I believe they may have modified the format of how it was spelled out, but I don't think that the job function has changed in any way. Short summary of my qualifications: certified by New Hampshire Fire Standards and Training as a firefighter 1, firefighter 2, firefighter 3, fire inspector 1, fire inspector 2, fire officer 1, fire officer 2, aircraft firefighter, instructor 1, and driver operator. I graduated from Granite State College with cum laude with a bachelor's degree in fire service administration, and I have an associate's degree in fire protection from New Hampshire Community Technical College. I am internationally certified by the Center for Public Safety Excellence as a chief fire officer. I'm a graduate of the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Program. One of my research papers is in fact published at the National Fire Academy. I graduated from the New Hampshire Municipal Association Leadership Institute. I carry a CDL license with air and tank endorsements. And I'm currently operating under what's called a CPAT waiver from the New Hampshire Fire Standards and Training Commission. That waiver is typically called a chief's waiver. The CPAT is a test typically for entry-level firefighters, and chiefs typically are granted a waiver of this candidate physical ability test. And the way that is done is the Fire Standards and Training Commission gets a copy of the job description and determines that that it in fact meets the qualifications for a chief's waiver. So that's all I have on job description and qualifications, if anyone has any questions.
Okay, so I'll recognize folks. Tim, I believe you had your hand up first.
Who authorized you to get the CPAT waiver for being the chief? How does that come about?
I believe that was authorized by the board at the time and processed through the town administrator.
Is Hal or Beth or Matt on the old board, is that what was brought before the board? Do you guys remember?
Before my time, I don't remember anything of that.
I'm the only one, and that was not brought before us because the working chief was hired as to be the fourth on-call the fourth responding firefighter EMT. So the CPAT would have been required for you to enter burning buildings. So the board did not.
That is not, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So Beth, finish your question, please.
I said the board did not grant a waiver. We assumed he had it. Because I actually looked back at information and emails we had from Tammy Ballou. And you had requested it to be waived and we said no.
Is that, okay. Go ahead, Chief.
That is not my recollection. And I don't believe as the board, we particularly discussed whether I don't believe I ever requested a waiver from the board. Like I said, it's often granted as it's called a chief's waiver because it's not an entry-level firefighter position. What it says is my primary responsibilities are administrative. It doesn't mean my secondary, tertiary, and so forth responsibilities are not structural firefighting or answering alarms.
So, further questions? I guess I have a question, Chief, in terms of, this question regarding you entering buildings and stuff like that. As chief, would you typically do that?
No, typically a chief officer is supposed to have a big picture view of the scene, maintain accountability, firefighter safety, calling additional resources. There are situations where I would go in a burning building, but that should be extremely rare. If the chief's inside the building, nobody has a big picture view of what's going on outside the building and could really compromise firefighter safety.
Okay, thank you. Further questions? I'm seeing you point, but I think your screen's different. Who's raising their hand?
Oh, Chris, were you raising your hand?
Chris is not, this isn't for Chris.
Okay, never mind, sorry.
This is for the board.
No, I didn't know if you couldn't hear something or something, that was all.
The public's certainly welcome to listen. It's a public meeting. But the board's.
No, I apologize. I accidentally hit it by accident.
Okay.
So I did find my email and it says that he requested a CPAT waiver from the office. This is coming from Deb.
Pendergast.
I don't have a last name, just said her last name at the end. Because it was a lateral transfer from the, because you were out of the department, New Hampshire department, less than 30-day lapse in service. But we did want you to have the CPAT because you were to be the fourth full-time firefighter EMT.
I guess I would refer to the contract, then it doesn't state that in the contract.
The contract, right, we're asking for a working chief. So the board's intent when we said working chief was it would be a firefighter EMT, but also take over all the paperwork responsibilities the chief was doing.
Okay, I guess, Beth, we're going to have to ask the question at this point. Are you asking for some particular action?
Can you get the CPAT?
He has a waiver for it.
But we never approved the waiver.
I don't, the Fire Standards and Training Commission are the ones that approve the waiver.
Right, but you didn't ask us about the waiver.
I don't believe I need to, unless it says in the contract that I have to pass CPAT. I don't think there's a requirement there. And I guess I would refer to the personnel manager for any input on that.
Okay, I'm going to put that down as a question.
So would you have to have a CPAT if you were going to be a certified firefighter?
I am a certified firefighter.
So that was the licensing and certification that we asked for with the first line, to be a certified firefighter. So you would have to have a CPAT to be a certified firefighter.
No, I am a certified firefighter. I'm a certified firefighter level 3, as a matter of fact.
So if I contact the academy, they're going to say it's okay?
They're going to say I'm a certified firefighter. Yes, they are. I would ask if the board, we're going to contact the fire academy, that'd be a board decision.
No, I'm just asking if I I'm not going to, theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
I don't know if Heather has any experience with chief's waivers, if she has any input.
Heather?
You're muted, Heather.
Oh, I unmuted myself. As far as the chief's waiver goes, I know it's a routine for somebody who has been, unless you're 20 years old, it's very rare that somebody's going to be able to pass comes into fire service. They come in, they go to usually it's the tech college up in Laconia, enters the fire service that way, then they get to pass the CPAC. The chief's waiver is very common, and other town administrators will tell you that's what they do is they get the chief's waiver. So, I mean, it's not something that's uncommon at all. I mean, I think it's kind of routine. So as far as this goes, I mean, I guess I'm surprised we're discussing this. He is a certified firefighter, I guess would be my comment.
Yeah, I guess maybe I was thinking sort of along those same lines, and I guess Heather, I'll direct this to you. When we hire new folks, I think we need to be meticulous about these types of things because, yeah, at this point, questions like this should have already been addressed, perhaps even before the hiring process. So I think we have to ask you to make sure that that happens going forward.
And I think that any board or any hiring decisions need to be very clear and clean, and that everything needs to be spelled out not a year and a half later, but yes.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that. Matt, did you raise your hand? No, okay. Other questions on job description? Okay, hearing none, how about we move on to maintenance and training? Chief?
Okay, so how do we identify when we have to have our vehicle service? First of all, we do regular vehicle checks of the apparatus, and we look at various things as far as the engine, the pump, the transmission, the equipment, and so forth. And if we find anything out of the ordinary, we have it addressed. Currently, we're working on a soft firehouse managing program so that all those checks are captured electronically. So I can go back and look at a truck check from a year ago, from a month ago, from a week ago, and see if it was done, if there was anything out of the ordinary. We also send our apparatus to a local mechanic every 6 months to be gone through and see if there's anything that needs to be repaired. We recently did that with our ambulance, and it got there and he says, yeah, your brakes are getting kind of thin. We got to replace the brakes. So we authorized to have that done. Another way is we identify during operations. If it's working at a fire and we hear something out of the ordinary, or something doesn't work right, then we have that addressed. Another way we find issues is we do an annual pump test for all our apparatus to make sure that it'll pump at its capacity. And at that point, we can identify problems there. About 2 years ago, our engine 3 failed its pump test. They identified a problem and that pump needed to be rebuilt. We do verify that the work was done to some degree, but some of it is pretty well hidden. So we use trustworthy and reliable vendors. In some cases, the vendor has to be emergency vehicle certified. So where it's possible to verify the work was done, we do. If they change the oil, we pull the dipstick and make sure the oil's clean. Talked a little bit about driver operator certification. As you heard, I am certified as a driver operator. And I think that should be a goal for our department, to require all our driver operators to be certified and to carry a CDL license. In a previous life in Barnstead, we were able to accomplish that, and all our drivers were certified and carried CDLs. As far as the equipment I was issued, most of the equipment in uniforms, name tags, collar brass, turnout gear, I brought with me. The town of Northwood purchased my turnout gear from my previous employer at a significantly reduced rate. So they got a few bucks out of the deal, and the town of Northwood got a good buy on turnout gear. So I was issued a badge, pagers, radio, staff car. But like I said, most of it was I brought with me. I changed some patches on some white shirts and all to minimize cost. We are looking, again, as part of our software solutions, our emergency reporting system can actually track equipment and radios and things like that. And we're really trying to implement that. So when someone leaves the department, we know exactly what they were issued and we know exactly what we need to get back. And that's a work in progress. Currently in the department, someone asked about EMT levels. We have 14 EMT basics, 4 EMT advanced, and two paramedics. And perhaps even on next Tuesday, I'm going to ask for permission to hire a 3rd paramedic. And I don't know when the last time our department had 3 paramedics or if we ever have had 3 paramedics. There's a question about the new breathing apparatus. All firefighters, certified firefighters, are trained in the use of self-contained breathing apparatus. The new self-contained breathing apparatus we got just prior to COVID-19. We had 2 trainings to familiarize all our firefighters with the equipment. We typically have an in-service on all new equipment. So we haven't had the training we would like to on the SCBA because of COVID-19, but we all are familiar with SCBAs and how they work. So it would be a matter of, if you were driving a different car, you may have a briefing on how the different buttons are in the car, but you would still know, you'd still have a driver's license to drive the car. So I'm confident our people would be, have been adequately trained on the new breathing apparatus. As far as COVID-19 and stock, thanks to our logistics officer, Adam Schwab, we had a good supply of personal protective clothing prior to COVID-19. We've been pretty self-sufficient and only having to go to the state recently for additional PPE. We've shared our PPE with Town Hall and the police department. So I think we were pretty well stocked, and hopefully we get a grant to resupply that stock of equipment. So our logistics officer is responsible for maintaining medical supplies, maintains a PAR level on all ambulances, orders supplies from Concord Hospital or other vendors when needed, monitors expiration dates on ambulances, and we are regularly inspected by the state at least annually or when we change the level of service, and they verify that our equipment is in place and up to date. So any questions on that topic?
Okay, so this was the maintenance and training, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Tim, how about you?
You said you had a book of all the maintenance, so is this on a computer sheet? I guess my auto in and out tonight. I'm sorry, I hear most of it, but you said you're setting up a program to keep everything in check, or if I went up there right now, you could show me a book of oil changes and stuff you checked out during the day and the pump pressures and all that?
Our vendor actually keeps track of the oil changes for us, and that's a local business. So we don't necessarily keep track of oil changes. We are working, our fire department management software has a program for doing truck checks. So if, you know, if we need to go back and look at those, we don't have that in place right now. One of our firefighters is a little bit more technically qualified to work with computers, and he was able to get most of that up and running within 24 hours. We're just having a little snafu. It doesn't seem to like ambulances for some reason. So we're working on that, but it's a work in progress, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have everything up and running for vehicle checks on the computer and have all that information at our fingertips.
Beth.
So the truck checks are being done. They're just not documented on the computer right now.
That's correct. Yeah.
So Chief, that sort of begs the question, is paper documentation?
It is. And unfortunately, some of the truck checks have the paper documents are kind of out of date. So a lot of times firefighters go through via memory. So if a truck has a new piece of equipment on it that never got added to the truck checks, then they know to check that piece of equipment.
Yeah, I guess I was asking it more from a different perspective. Tim, I'll get to you in just a minute. I was just wondering whether there's any use to adding the historical information, or is it best just to put our efforts into getting it up and running and going forward?
I think right now the important thing is get it up and running. And if down the road we feel we need to add that historical information, we can do that. The trucks are kept in pretty good shape, so oftentimes the check sheets are just a series of check marks saying that yes, it was okay.
Okay, thank you. Tim, you had a hand up.
Let's say I come on tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock and you're coming off the shift. Is it my responsibility as the fireman, paramedic, or whatever to go around and check to see if it's all stocked and like the jaws of life is, you know, working or available? And I mean, is there like a routine? How, you know what I'm trying to say? I could be more specific, but.
So there is, when COVID-19 hit, I was working on a policy to address just that issue. So right now it's more of a, this is the way we've always done it, which is the offgoing person gives a report to the oncoming person. They'll check the ambulance through. They generally check the pumper that's at that station. They'll do a truck check on that. And then the other apparatus has a weekly check unless it's been out on a call and been used. So if we've utilized the jaws of life that night, then the oncoming shift is, the offgoing shift was responsible to put it back in service. And then the oncoming shift is going to verify that equipment was put back correctly. It's all fuel, the oil's up and all that.
I'm just going to ask Jim Hadley, are you still with us and are you having any questions?
I'm still with you. I'm listening. I don't have any questions. This topic is not an area of expertise for me.
Okay, I just asked Jim because you've been, I'm just going to say it, unusually quiet. So I just wanted to make sure you were there, back from your break and everything. And okay, just like I said, just checking in. Okay.
Hey, thanks for checking in, Al.
Okay. Further questions? Anybody else? Beth, I see your hand up.
So yeah, I had several questions. So I guess one of them was the bedrooms at the Narrows station. Was there an occupancy permit for that?
I'm going to get to that later, but I can tell you that a building is given an occupancy permit when it's built. Mm-hmm. So there is no need for a new occupancy permit. What the building official does come in and they verify that the construction was built according to code, and they look at the construction and make sure it's adequate. And so we did have a building permit, we did have an inspection, and everything passed. But a new occupancy permit is not required.
So you had a building inspection on not just the building, but the new stuff you put into the building.
That's correct.
Okay. And we spent, I think, I want to say $32,000 for the exhaust system down at the Ridge Station.
Can I ask that we stay on topic? That's not part of the maintenance and training section of questions.
Are you going to address that later, Chief?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a fair point.
I'm sorry. I thought you were done with I didn't realize you had more topics.
Yeah, he's got 1, 2, 3, at least 4 more.
Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate you asking because I had the same question. So, okay, so on this particular topic, maintenance and training, does anybody else have anything else they want to ask the chief at this point? Okay, so we'll wrap that one up. And I guess what I just say is, we're trying to go through these. That certainly does not mean that, later if we have questions, we can ask the chief, them also. But let's try to at least work our way through the ones we've got. So Chief, do you want to move on to staffing, please? I think that's what you said next.
Yes, yep. So when I was hired here, when I arrived, I was asked to eliminate deadwood on the roster. We had a number of members who had not contributed to an emergency response for some time, up to several years. We set a goal of 15% of callbacks as a starting point for active firefighters. And others, I started with the people who were least active and gave them options to become more active, to bump down to our support company, retire, or resign. Some members chose to go on the support company. Others said they were going to be more active. And the SOG on the support company was approved by the Board of Selectmen. We've recently had experienced quite an increase in activity for our firefighters. If you look at January 1st, 2020 to March 1st, 2020, and compare it to March 1st to the current date, more people are responding to calls with a higher percentage of response. We're heading in the right direction and establish that 15% as a goal so that all our firefighters meet that goal. We have renewed interest from a number of our senior staff who had not been active before. And then over the last 6 months, we've actively been recruiting new members. 18 of our firefighters are certified firefighters, and we have 2 more that are just finishing up their training, which would have been done had COVID not come along. Typically, we make every effort to cover with 2 firefighters during the day, one of those being myself, and when possible, 2 at night. We have doubled our efforts to try and get 2 at night just because of the pandemic, and hopefully we'll be able to recover some of those funds. With COVID-19, the state is allowing us to respond in an ambulance and transport with only 1 medical provider. We have taken advantage of that and allowed non-medically certified providers to cover shifts with a medical provider. Typically, we do not allow a non-medical certified provider to work alone because they're not able to respond with the ambulance. If one person is on duty, they will respond with the ambulance. Typically, if others and if other providers are available, they'll meet at the scene. That can vary based on the incident. If we have a report of a car accident with entrapment, the person here may decide that the rescue is more appropriate to respond with. If we have a report of a water rescue, they may respond with the boat instead of the ambulance. But as a general rule, that one person will respond with the ambulance. If no other medical provider shows up, the on-duty provider starts patient care until a mutual aid ambulance shows up. If I am the only one on duty, I evaluate who is available to respond, the location and acuity of the call, and depending, I may respond with the ambulance or my staff car. But because oftentimes a mutual aid ambulance will show up with just one provider, and oftentimes been called upon to drive that mutual aid ambulance. And I think it's better to abandon my car on the side of the road as opposed to a fully stocked ambulance. Car 1 is equipped with a medical bag that includes oxygen, airways, and everything to take vital signs, bandaging. We can check blood sugar. We can check pulse oximetry. So Car 1 is more than equipped to begin routine patient care until an ambulance arrives. Finally, we use software solutions to schedule our staff. This program is called When to Work. Our scheduler reviews the availability and assigns staff to cover shifts. And again, typically during the day, I'm the second crew member, unless we have a person training or I have other commitments like a meeting in Concord or something like that that precludes me from responding. So any questions on staffing?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead, please.
I don't know if it's, I guess, staffing and scheduling. I always see a few of your firefighters on 24-hour shifts. I mean, how safety is that? I mean, one individual I always see, doing a 24-hour shift and a day, a 24-hour shift. Next week he's doing 24. I mean, is that really effective for the
So
24 hours?
Firefighters throughout the country typically work 24-hour shifts. Our career staff work 2 24-hour shifts a week as a rule, and it's not uncommon, especially in the larger departments where you're doing 20 calls in a 24-hour shift. That does present a safety issue, but in Northwood we're typically not busy enough that's an issue. We normally have enough downtime to make sure nobody's too exhausted.
Beth, go ahead, please.
If a fire call comes in, what goes out? What rolls out from the station first?
Typically a pumper will roll first. If we don't have someone fire certified, then the ambulance will roll first. We do have.
The other day when we had that garage fire, the ambulance rolled out and you arrived in your car. We didn't send it to.
That's correct.
What was the reasoning behind that?
Because as the incident commander, like I said, I need to have a big picture of the scene. I take command. I have accountability boards in the back of my car. I can call for resources. I'm doing a 360 of the building to make sure that I have a good idea what's going on. I knew we had other people in town that could respond. Keep in mind too, it came in as a fire alarm activation, not as a fire.
The garage one, I'm talking about the garage.
Yes, that came in as a fire alarm activation.
Right, so how you said that the pumper would go out. I wasn't even talking about your particular car. I said the ambulance and your car went out. So why did the ambulance and not the pumper go out?
Because our the other person on shift was not a firefighter, they were an EMT.
So it was because we didn't have the staff for that particular situation at the station. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it would be nice if all our staff were cross-trained, and I think that's the direction we need to go in, but unfortunately that's not reality for us right now. And we 80% of our calls are ambulance, so we have some people that are not fire certified, but they can get an ambulance out the door. Our paramedic is not fire certified, but if you're having a heart attack, you probably want her there. So that's the rationale behind putting people that are not cross-trained on shift.
But you're a certified firefighter, but it's more important to be the chief at that point than to roll the truck, right?
Yes, especially when I know we have people in town that can roll the truck. We had automatic aid from Deerfield who actually were closer and got there before we did. We had automatic aid from Epsom, so we had other fire trucks responding.
Tim, did you raise your hand? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just grabbed my water bottle. No, we're good.
Oh.
No, so sorry.
Okay, sorry. I guess the same as Chris. Okay, other questions regarding staffing? I do have one, Chief. I just want to make sure I understand the staffing criteria, staffing levels on the ambulance. And I'm going to admit right up front, it has to do with revenue. So I want to understand, what level do we staff the ambulance with? What does that get us? What does it enable us to do? And I'm just going to be blunt again. I want to have some comfort level that the revenue that we depend on to pay both the pumper lease and the ambulance lease are going to be there. So could you just explain that and what you're doing to make sure we have that staffing to maximize what we get in?
Right. So like I said, our scheduler reviews the schedule and tries to put together the best crew we possibly can. Sometimes that's a basic EMT with a non-EMT to drive the ambulance under the COVID waiver. But we definitely strive to have advanced EMTs and spread them out so we don't necessarily have them working together. We'll pair them with a basic EMT. Definitely getting paramedics on board is going to get us to the ALS2 rate on billing. So that's going to help us.
Okay, stop right there. That's what I wanted to understand. So do we need two folks on at the same time to get that rate, or just one person on and somebody else with them?
Well, if we have one person on, we rely on one of the call people coming in from home. So, and that we've been a little hit or miss with getting people to come out, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning when they have to go to their full-time job and they tell us it's a potential COVID-19 that's going to take us at least 2 hours. So we try to at least keep one person on all the time and hope another call person comes in to fill out that crew. Right now, we can fill out that crew with a driver. We prefer to fill it out with at least an EMT. And depending if the person that comes out is a higher level of training as compared to the person on duty, they may swap, and the person coming from home may take over patient care, and the person that was on duty may drive the ambulance. So it's all based on the need. We can't give people advanced services if they don't need it. So sometimes we like to, I know, but
that's what's called push selling there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're not allowed to upsell. So
that's what it is. Upselling. Yeah. Okay. No, I understand now. So yeah, so there are limits from all perspectives in terms of what you can do to maximize our revenue. So I guess the best you can hope for is to be staffed to handle the largest number of calls immediately, I guess is what I'd say.
Yes. So when the first ambulance goes out, we're hopeful that people will come out for the second ambulance if we have a second call. And that, as far as revenue goes, that's the best of both worlds. If we can get both ambulances on the road.
Okay. Thank you. I dominated that questioning. Does anybody else have any other questions? Tim, I see your hand.
So I don't know if is it routinely that, like, if you head down like an accident on the east end of town, and you're gonna be tied up for a while, does Epsom already know they might have to come cover? Is there communication? Does fire alarm let you guys know that?
They do. So, for example, the garage fire the other day, we called Nottingham to come and sit in our station to cover the station. If we're out on an ambulance call and fire alarm knows that we don't have staff to cover the second ambulance based on what's showing up on a program called I Am Responding. A second ambulance call in Northwood will get, right now it will get Epsom. We're trying to change that so we get the most geographically appropriate ambulance. But right now, our second ambulance is always Epsom. And the fire alarm knows to call them.
Hold on a second. Jim, I saw your voice thing light up. You have a question?
Who?
Jim, I thought I saw your voice box light up.
Oh, I just moved my phone a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just want to be attentive. Okay. Tim, you had a question.
Yeah, just like a follow up on that. I know in the past, my father was deputy chief a million years ago and stuff like that. So like when the whole department like rolled out on a call and a Nottingham truck come in or Deerfield traffic come in, you know, and well, don't back into the ridge because nobody can back into the ridge. But
yeah,
are
I
we
feel
leaving?
your pain.
Yeah, that's another question coming up. Are we leaving? Like we always in the past, they always left like another firefighter back, so they were like the direction person if Nottingham or I mean way back when. I mean, I don't know. Were you around like when the Highway Hotel burned? You know, we sent trucks to sit into the Heights station for 2 days. You know, so
Right.
there's always a guy left back. Is that like a plan or best
We
possibility?
try to do that. Sometimes we need all hands on deck at the fire. And especially in these days of GPS, it's not quite as important, although, you know, they may or may not have the local knowledge of, you know, where Farmer Brown's barn is, you know, things like that. But we do try and leave somebody back. I was hoping that our support company would be able to help us out with that. You know, people like Steve Bailey knows this town like the back of his hand, can come in and help us out and run as a pilot for us. We're hoping to expand that so those support company members feel comfortable coming in and helping us out with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Other questions? Okay. I'm not seeing any. So I guess Chief will move on to finances. I realize my question was a little bit finance oriented, but why don't you give your presentation, please?
That's all right. So finances, questions about how we develop the budget, and the budget is first prepared by evaluating our needs. What do we need? What are we short? We look at previous year's expenditures. If we spent $2,000 on heating oil, we can assume that this year we'll probably spend $2,000 with either increase or decrease based on fuel costs. So previous year's expenditures are pretty important. We look at fixed costs versus discretionary costs. You know, if we have some discretionary costs in our equipment line, and you know, sometimes guessing what your budget's going to be 18 months in advance, there may be a piece of equipment comes out, and if we have some discretion in that line, we can buy that. Some of it is fixed costs, like we know that when to work is going to cost us $200 a year. We know that we're probably going to spend X number of dollars on fuel and heat and electricity. So we look at fixed costs versus discretionary spending. We solicit input from our officers, either formally at department meetings or officers meetings, or informally. You know, someone comes in and say, "Hey, Chief, I saw this in a magazine. What do you think about this piece of equipment?" Input is accepted and encouraged from all members and officers. We evaluate our budgetary needs as far as capital purchases. You know, our capital equipment plan, and as far as buying apparatus and the big dollar items. We may have new standards that we have to meet. Definitely this COVID-19 is probably going to change the way we budget a few things moving forward. We may, you know, in this case, it's a new mission for us. And then we got to look at our equipment. It gets older every year, and we got to look at maintenance costs. There's a question about, was I prepared for the budget this year? And I think I was, and I'll answer that with I've been a fire chief for 10 years, and I have never been requested or prepared a budget the same way twice. I'm still learning the idiosyncrasies of this town and what the expectations are. So I prepared my budget based on my experience over the last 9 years at the time. Next year, I will. I understand that people need more detail, although maybe not as much detail as 110 pages of truck specifications. But I feel I'll be better prepared next year to answer specific questions from the boards and from the Board of Selectmen. And finally, I through the town administrator generally, I have a discussion to determine what is our potential level of funding. Has the board set a cap, said we want no more than 3%, or we want no more than 5%, whatever that is. And based on that, we'll triage and say, what can we buy with the 2 or 3% or whatever they've given us for direction. And, you know, we look at things like how much is our healthcare cost gone up? How much is our retirement cost gone up? Are they going to give raises to the employees? And then from there, we present to the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee, justify any increases, explain any decreases, and based on those meetings, revise as necessary. So ambulance revenue, something that's near and dear to Hal's heart here.
Yes, near and dear. Yeah, you got it, buddy.
So we started the year on track to meet or exceed our projected ambulance revenue for the year. We had no idea a pandemic would hit, and calls for ambulance services plummeted. People were afraid to go to hospitals. We had 2 months of low call volume. And even with that, I believe we maintained enough collections, we would squeak by and meet our obligations for the new apparatus. Our calls have started to go back up. Last month, revenues were higher than we expected. And so based on that, unless, you know, the bottom falls out of ambulance transports, I think we'll be fine with meeting or exceeding our obligations as far as the fire truck and the ambulance lease. As a safety factor, we do have more time than we anticipated to collect revenues for those 2 pieces of equipment. Like I said, during our pandemic, it's hard to project future revenue. We continue to make efforts to maximize our revenue. We're implementing a stronger quality assurance program so that somebody's looking at those ambulance reports and making sure we're maximizing billing by checking the right boxes and putting in the correct information. We're ensuring our reports are completed in a timely manner. When I first came here, there were a number of ambulance reports that were not submitted in time, so we were unable to collect that revenue. If people do not do ambulance reports, we were pretty good at finding the reports that were partially done. But if somebody didn't even start the report, it took a lot of effort to try and find that. So now we're trying to make sure that we're doing our reports in time so that Medicare and Medicaid will pay us for them. And we've doubled our efforts to make sure reports are actually started so that we can get the appropriate collections. Where am I here? Okay. Just give me a second here. Okay. So there were some questions about the remodeling of the narrow station. The construction was conducted in accordance with the personnel policy. Purchases over $500 was signed by the town administrator. We tried to minimize costs. We bought drywall. We bought damaged drywall so that it was less expensive. We bought drywall. We bought drywall mud. We bought 2 passage doors with lock sets. And we went to Big Jim's outlet, so we got a better deal on those. We bought 2x4s and 2x6s for framing 2 walls and to frame an egress window. The egress window was discounted at Lowe's because it was an open container. We bought 2 light fixtures, paint, carpet was donated. We bought 1 fire door to seal between the apparatus bay and the living quarters, and 3 smoke detector carbon monoxide detectors. As with any project, we try to be good stewards of the town's money, and we made every attempt to minimize costs. The budget for my first year here was not my own. And the 2019 budget was approximately $30,000 less than the 2018 budget. When I was hired, they did not include salary for specifically for my position in the budget because it was a default budget. The pump rebuild on engine 3 was just being completed and the funds were inadequate out of the 2018 budget. So approximately $3,000 for that pumper repair came out of the 2019 budget. We evaluated the state of the budget, made adjustments. All large changes in the 2019 budget were justified and approved by the Board of Selectmen of the town administrator. In the end, we came in under budget. And at the same time, we were able to make a number of improvements in our equipment. Capital expenditures. With this year's budget, I was asked to produce a CIP. This is a roadmap for capital purchases. We looked at apparatus, the condition, age, mileage, and anticipated life expectancy. The first priorities that we identified were we were desperate for a new ambulance. It had been put off once or twice before. It's got over 100,000 miles on it, and a new tanker. Our tanker is past its life expectancy. So we were able to put those in the capital budget and get that approved. And as you know, those pieces of apparatus were ordered, which we're eternally grateful for. The next big priority is to replace engine 3. Engine 3 is a 1997 pumper. The service life of a pumper is typically 20 years. But keeping in mind the pump was completely rebuilt last year, we expect the truck to be serviceable for a number of years. We scheduled engine 3 to be replaced in 3 years, but instead of replacing engine 3 with another pumper, is our recommendation to replace engine 3 with a multi-use vehicle, and it's called a Quint. A Quint has everything required to be a pumper. It has a tank, it has water, it has a pump, it has ground ladders, breathing apparatus. But in addition, the truck is also equipped with a short hydraulic ladder, 75 feet. And my understanding in speaking with a number of department members, that's been a long-term goal of the department for a number of years. So the question is, how do we pay for it? Best case scenario, our ambulance revenue exceeds our expectations and we can fund a lease purchase for this truck in 3 years. Keep in mind our revenue projections were based on our lowest year of revenue in some time. But if revenue is not forthcoming, we have several options. One, we could purchase a late model used Quint that meets our needs. We could wait till our revenue is adequate to fund a lease purchase, or some combination of those two, buying a later model and waiting for some revenue. Fourth, we can seek grant funding for the purchase. But typically, if apparatus is not on your CIP, they're not going to fund it in a grant. So it was important to get that equipment on the CIP. As far as the exhaust system goes, we do need an exhaust system at the Narrows Fire Station. And as I explained to the previous board, where am I here? As I explained to the previous board, we should be able to get a grant before the next apply for a grant before the next budget cycle. It's important that if we don't have firefighters living in the station 24/7, we are not going to get a grant for an exhaust system. So it was important that we put firefighters in the Narrows Station for that reason, amongst other safety concerns. 2 of the 3 apparatus of the Narrows are newer engines and provide much less particulate than the older apparatus. And we have a fire door between the apparatus bay and the living quarters that also seals to keep some of that particulate out. It is our goal to put an exhaust system in here. And as I've been successful in requesting a grant for one of these systems before, I expect we should be able to get a grant for that moving forward. Having firefighters in the station will also give us the ability to apply for grants for fire alarm systems and sprinkler systems. So as the narrow station is by far a better facility, it makes sense to put money into that station and apply for grants for that station as opposed to the Ridge station. Any questions on that?
I see Tim. How about you?
Yeah, I appreciate you getting all the low discount windows and sheetrock, but what would you throw a total number at all that? I mean, I went in there the other day, with Assistant Chief LeBlanc, and he showed me around, and big refrigerator, dishwasher, all the other. I mean, what was?
So the refrigerators, the refrigerators and dishwasher was not part of this project. We purchased the refrigerator when we had the energy audit, and we said, what's eating all the electric bills are outrageous here. What's the problem? And he pointed to our refrigerators, and the one at the Ridge station was manufactured in 1984. So that purchase was in order to help alleviate some of our electric bills. So it was not purchased because of the renovation here. We bought 2 of them, one for each station, and that was authorized by the previous board. The dishwashers, we started looking for those online used, and the first one, the one at the narrow station, was advertised for $100, and we went to pick it up, and they said, it's for the fire department, you guys can have it. So we didn't spend any money on that. And the other one was in a little bit rougher shape, but the guy wanted $25 for it, so we paid him $25, and we have 2 dishwashers. I think, and I keep referring to the pandemic, but it's really critical now that that we wash and sanitize our dishes in between each use, and I think there's $25 well spent. We did have someone mentioned an air conditioner, and we do have a room air conditioner that we plan to install in the 2nd floor office, and that was a donation as well. So.
Tim, please continue.
And actually, excuse me, that Saturday, I think Kevin Evans was working in, I'm going to screw up his last name, Kevin Bartran. I'm sorry. If he's listening, I apologize. That's Kevin. They were working on, I call them the L shelves. I guess I was told they were going to support the new forestry truck tank, and they still have built-in shelves for some of your gear on the forestry truck.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that there was marine grade plywood at $125 a sheet, depending on what 3 sources you got them there. And I counted 10 sheets of plywood in the station that day from marine grade plywood. So how does the $1,000 worth of plywood come about with a $500 limit? He was telling me that each they had just finished one side of the shelf, I guess, and they were going to stop building the other one, and it took almost 4.5 to 5 sheets per side.
Yeah. So Kevin's actually sitting right next to me. So he said it actually was they were $105 a sheet, and he spent $600 on plywood, and we did have a discussion about we have a spending limit of 500. So definitely talk to the town administrator about signing off on that extra $100 for plywood.
Okay, so Chief, you're saying it just basically it was over 500, but then Heather had to approve it. Is that what you're saying?
We haven't got the bill for it yet, but yes, Heather would have to approve the $600.
Okay. Other questions?
Al?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
This is on the ambulance billings. Did I miss my opportunity?
You know, we're talking finances, Jim, so it's the perfect time.
Okay, good. The Chief, the last time I was on the board several years ago, we used to get like a monthly or quarterly aging report from Kevin Madison showing, what's outstanding, and if there's any outstanding after so many days, 30, 60, 90, then Kevin would make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen to write off a certain amount of money on different accounts. Now, you provide an aging report to the board?
We do get an aging report. And the previous board gave me some direction on how to deal with those delinquent accounts. So I generally will follow that policy. If it's something that's different than that policy that they've directed me to do, I will bring it before the board. Typically, the board has given me some guidance on when to write things off. And I follow that, pretty religiously. The thing with the aging reports, when I first came here, we had probably 10 pages of delinquent accounts and nobody had addressed it. So we cleaned that up and made some write-offs, sent some things to collections. Some things were too late to collect on. So we lost that revenue. But now when we get that monthly report, it's usually half a page and there's probably 4 or 5 accounts on there that we have to deal with. So there is a larger aging report that shows a lot more information, like how much we've billed, how much we've collected, how much we're allowed to bill. So for example, we bill $2,000 for an ambulance call, but it's a Medicare call. We're only going to recover maybe $800 of that $2,000. So that aging report is going to say we're not getting the difference between $800 and $2,000. And when I receive that, I can definitely provide that to the board.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering if that was one of the reasons why the ambulance billing revenues went down so much last year.
No, that was more a function of staffing. And we try to reduce staffing without adding staffing. And it should have probably taken place simultaneously, but that's not how things work. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, good questions, Jim. Thank you. I had similar. Beth.
2 things. So I'm assuming you're talking about adding the Quint truck because it had a ladder, because we have so many tall buildings in town, right?
Correct.
Drive down Route 4, you see so many big buildings. So that's great.
Yeah.
I think I missed the total on the amount of renovations though. When Tim asked you a dollar figure for the amount?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is. I think all total for all of everything, it's got to be under $1,000, I'm thinking, but I'd have to get that from finance because I don't think I can view 2019 expenditures anymore or I just don't know how to do it. One of the two.
Yeah, actually, Beth, that brought up a thought that I had, and from my days in working in industry, one of the discussions that the managers would always have is, at what point should we consider consolidating some of these expenses and consider them a quote project and therefore, seek higher level management review. Because I mean, obviously, not that I would ever do this or have ever done it, but you got a piping project, you just buy one elbow and one length of pipe at a time, and soon it adds up to big money. But I think that's a discussion, and Jim, just maybe that's something the BudFin committee can discuss a little bit. Because that is something I think we need to sort of keep in mind, because we don't want to nickel and dime the public here. We want to, if we're going to do something, let's talk about the real cost and make sure we understand the whole picture. So I think that's something, yeah. Beth, you had your hand up again.
No, because I appreciate, doing projects and stuff and keeping it under the $500 minimum or spending allowance. But just all right, my husband's not here. I like to shop and I'll say, oh, that was on sale.
Yeah.
So, like if we went shopping 5 times for $500, really, 25. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, Beth.
And that-
And we need to be cognizant of that's going on. And I think Jim has some expertise in that area too. And I will.
And I can assure you, the idea was not to split the
No.
invoices. It just as it came in.
We understand.
And that, you know, some things were more expensive. The fire door was probably the most expensive single component we bought.
Yeah. So let's just keep that in mind as we go forward, and you know, keep an eye on the big picture too.
But I do like Beth's idea of shopping. I like to shop too.
Yeah, join the
I
club.
like to get the best value. I'd like to get more things. So.
Okay. Catherine's weighing in too. Okay. Other questions on the finances? You know, Catherine, this was your big chance. Okay. She's just smiling. Okay.
I don't have any questions for Mark.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you probably know all the details already. Okay.
I'll do my best.
Chief, I marked down that you said management next. Do you want to move on to that topic, please?
Yeah, this is a little bit lengthy. So,
do we want to
yeah,
take a 5-minute break? It's been an hour and a half since we last took a break, and
has it really? Wow, time flies when you're having fun, huh?
yeah, I'll tell you what, 5-minute recess, just because you said it's going to be a long one.
All right.
No more than 5, please. Everybody come back promptly, please. Well, we don't have Lisa, but I guess we can.
About 6:30.
Somebody drank all my ginger ale.
There's Kool-Aid in there too. You can have that too.
Okay, I guess Tim's not back yet.
There he is.
Oh, okay, good, good. And Lisa too, great. Oh, so Lisa, just out of curiosity, has anybody checked the YouTube channel to make sure it's still running?
So the YouTube channel has been working since the beginning. I did have a few calls and texts at the beginning that saying it wasn't working. I don't know why people can't go. I mean, I can share my screen and show, but it's literally working. I even had like members of my family do it. So
Okay.
I just left them in for this meeting, but the next one, like I said, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as long as, we're learning. So, this is a learning session, not just for us, but for the public. And as long as we're not having any serious issues with the Zoom working, I think that's okay. But we do want to get it to where this is sort of bulletproof. So we just need to continue to get the word out there and stuff like
And
that.
that's what I was just saying is that I'm happy to show anybody that
Yeah.
know how to do it. That's all.
Yeah, it might take a few tries till everybody feels comfortable, but I think this is good. And I'll just tell you, the last time we had the problem, I went right back and checked my speed. I was up to almost 50 megabits per second. So
didn't we buy the package that we can do 49 people at once on a meeting? So
yeah,
is it something that we need to call and verify that, Lisa? What do you think?
Actually, we have 100 people, and it's not that, Jim. What we were trying to, it's not that we didn't want people to come into the Zoom meeting. We were trying to not have too many people in that's using up the internet for this one session. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way there we didn't get interrupted.
Choose up the bandwidth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as the YouTube link goes, it looks like when you try to play it in the embedded link on the town website, it blocks it. It says the playback on other websites has been disabled by the video owner. If you click the link that's above it though, it takes you right to the YouTube page and it's playing now.
Okay, so we need to just let people know, make sure that it's working and let everybody get used to it. So it'll take a few times, just like it took us some tries to get this, but I think
it was like a 10-15 second delay, Lisa, or what was?
Well, I counted 13, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 10 to 15 in between.
Yeah, it's a bit of a delay, but it's not substantial. Let's put it that way. Okay, Chief, I think we're up to the management topics. Could you start that, please?
Sure. So the first topic is administrative tasks. Most of the administrative tasks are being handled personally by me. However, there are some things we delegate as necessary. I handle accounts payable, payroll, preparing budgets, grants management, grant writing. Other administrative tasks like reporting are completed by the officer in charge and/or the primary medical care provider. And moving forward, we'll evaluate administrative tasks and continue to evaluate and assign as necessary. Briefly, I think we covered most of the narrow station issues, but I'll try and hit the high points here. Basically, we built 2 non-load bearing walls to create 2 separate bunk rooms. We installed an egress window in one of the bunk rooms, installed a fire door between the apparatus bay and the living quarters, and installed smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. We obtained a building permit from the code official, and we got the appropriate inspections and approval once the project was complete. I think Tim had a question about touring the facility, and I know I've talked to the previous board, but any member of the Board of Selectmen is welcome in the fire stations to come and look around anytime. There's nothing special here, but by all means, come in, sit down, have a cup of coffee with us. Of course, socially distance and all that, but there were some questions about being at town hall, and there are a number of tasks that require me to be at town hall. I regularly interact with numerous departments in town hall, including finance, the building official, land use board, land use secretary, town clerk, recreation, and probably the majority is with the town administrator. We have regular meetings. She provides guidance. We have staff meetings. For some reason, it's a pet peeve, and I can show you I don't have the time or the inclination to hang around at town hall. Anytime I'm there, it's for official business. There are times when I need to spend more time at town hall than usual. For example, if we have a personnel action going on, yeah, we want to make sure we get it right. I spend some time at town hall.
Can we stop right there, Chief? Because it says in your contract, any personnel issues you directly to the board. So why are you going to the town hall with those issues? Right in the contract, it says any trouble that you can't handle, you report directly to the Board of Selectmen.
Say that again, Tim. Clarify your question. I didn't quite grasp it myself.
He says he's going to the town administrator with personnel issues with people in the fire department. It says right in the contract, if he can't handle the situation as fire department chief, he's to bring them directly to the Board of Selectmen for guidance. It's right in his contract. So I just wanted to clarify that before we get into any more discussion on that matter.
I'm going to let the chief speak, but I thought what you were referring to was like when we had the recent termination, you had to spend a lot of time there.
Yes.
But Tim, I want to make sure we understand your question.
So I'm not going to get into I still don't know the whole matter of the last termination.
Yeah, but what do you think the contract says relative to how those should be handled, just so it's clear for everybody? Because I'm not clear exactly which part of the contract you're talking about. I'll tell you, yeah, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I just wanted to be sure I didn't quite grasp that. I know I looked at the contract. I'm not disagreeing with you per se, but I just can't recollect that particular type of discussion there. Maybe I missed it.
Well, I printed it off with my old printer, but it says duties and responsibilities. Employees shall be responsible for disciplining all employees in the fire department, subject to grievance and appeal rights, if any, to the Board of Selectmen. So with the last case.
Yeah.
Go ahead now.
But I think that refers to our personnel policy too, then, because we do have, if there's discipline and the person disagrees, then they have per the personnel policy. Heather, are you pointing that you should pick up on this one?
I wanted to. I am the HR director, so there's times when he will come up to me and talk to me about HR issues. Also, the personnel policy does allow for grievances, and that is another option, that if a person has a disciplinary issue, that he might come up and say, can we set up a grievance and that kind of thing. We might be going over an issue in the personnel policy. What he'll say, what does it say in this personnel policy? You might be reviewing that, but that's
Okay.
the reason.
But Heather, Tim is asking specifically what things does or should, per the contract, the chief bring to you or to the board?
Any HR questions he would bring to me. HR
Okay.
questions.
And like if there's a grievance, how does that route? How, let's say the chief disciplines somebody, they disagree with that, they want to grieve it. How does that work?
Next step would be to grieve it to me, and then the following step would be to grieve it to the board.
So ultimately it comes to the board.
It does.
Does that make sense based on what you're reading, Tim?
Says any grievances report. I guess I'm confused with the writing, I guess. So maybe we need to change the policy. This is all, it says right here, you know, any grievance that he can't figure out himself goes to the Board of Selectmen. So maybe,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
then,
all these
yeah,
policies and stuff needs to,
I think you're right on that one. I'm going to mark that down because that, I'm virtually certain, is contrary to our employee handbook. So let's capture that one. That's one going to be one for us.
And that would differ from the whole personnel policy for the town, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to have to capture that and come back to that one because that clear discrepancy in my mind. I mean, maybe when we look at it closer, we'll see something. Matt, sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that's not the only example where the contract and the job description have a discrepancy. So I think it's going to be important for us to go through each with a fine-tooth comb and look for those discrepancies and then act as a board to determine, to effectively change one or the other. Now, it may be easier to change the job description than the contract. We can do that unilaterally, whereas the contract's already signed. So, but there's a couple of instances where I think they do disagree.
Yeah, and we as you're right. We're responsible for the consistency and stuff, and we got to deal with that. It's not fair to anybody that it's inconsistent. Then you get into the middle of it and you don't know what to do. And that gets us in trouble legally. And okay, I think that was a nice catch, Tim. Did you want to follow up with anything else on that particular point?
not at this time, but I'll leave it open.
Okay. So I noted that down as an item that we're going to need to address. So thank you.
So Hal, I guess my point is that for some reason people are infatuated by watching when my car's at town hall and how long it's there. And like I said, when I'm at town hall, I'm there for official business and nothing else.
Thank you, Chief. Just one point, don't direct your questions to me, even though I probably am the brightest picture here. Address it to the full board, please. Yeah.
Got it, okay. So the next subtopic is chain of command. We make every effort to follow the chain of command. However, we're a small department. Some of our officers are not as available as they could be. Our call department lower level officers may not be regularly available. Oftentimes questions or concerns go directly to me as the chief. As often as possible, I'll redirect those concerns back down the chain of command to the appropriate person. As I presented to the membership at our very first staff meeting, going outside the department and bypassing the chain of command cannot be tolerated. So, internally, we sometimes we struggle with chain of command, and sometimes it's lack of availability, lack of people. I'm definitely here most often, so people come directly to me, and whenever possible, I'll direct that back down through the chain. We use several software solutions, including When to Work, I Am Responding, Emergency Reporting, and Tempsys. Tempsys is our medical reporting program. When I arrived in Northwood, I found we're not utilizing some of these programs to their fullest potential. For example, we're only using emergency reporting for incident reports. The program has far more capabilities, is a full fire department management system. Currently, we're implementing tracking of personal equipment such as turnout gear, pagers, and radios. We're implementing electronic vehicle checks. In the future, we'll update our roster with all relevant information for our employees. We can input water sources and we can track vehicle maintenance. So that program is pretty powerful. Another program we use is I Am Responding. And this is another program we're trying to use more effectively. We recently took steps to help ensure our duty staff are listed in the program. And we continue to encourage our staff to sign into the program and indicate they are responding to calls. This information goes directly to fire alarm and it lets them know who's on duty. It lets them know who's responding. So I'll be responding to a call and I'll say, do we have anybody coming? And they say, I have 3 people on I Am Responding. So I know I have people coming. That's something I've been on 3 departments that had I Am Responding, and we all struggled with getting people to sign in. that they were coming to the call. Typically emails and information is disseminated using email groups on I Am Responding. The deputy routinely updates these email groups when we have new employees. Changes in staff. As a change agent, I found in any organization, there are members who think change is not happening fast enough. There are those members who think change is happening too fast. And then there are those members who don't believe change is needed. I suspect the two of our resignations were due to one of those factors. One of our resignations was due to life commitments. She just didn't have the time to dedicate to the department anymore. So I don't think that was any reflection on the department. And she assures me it was not. Like I said, the letter from the firefighters, I think, addresses some of the members that resigned, and I'll let that speak for itself. Since our change in personnel, we have renewed interest in the department. We have more members responding to calls, and we have members who are responding. We have more members responding to calls, and of the members that are responding, they're responding to more calls. Equipment. As you may be aware, we had an issue with equipment being tampered with and missing from the fire stations. After consulting with members of the board and the town administrator and getting a legal opinion, we decided to install security cameras in the stations. Because the cameras do not record voice, there is no need for occupant notification that the cameras are installed. The tampering continued in areas outside the view of the cameras, including in the cabs of the apparatus and in the back of the ambulance. Fortunately, most of this tampering was discovered when our members did truck checks. And since our recent change in personnel, the tampering and missing equipment has stopped. There's a question about a time clock. We did have an issue with one member coming in late to work on a routine basis. That issue has been addressed. The deputy is doing monthly audits of the door codes to see when people are coming into work. We can randomly check those audits to make sure people are coming to work on time. At this point, I believe a time clock is not necessary, as in looking at the audits thus far, people coming in late is definitely the exception to the rule, and generally not for an extended period of time, a minute or two. My management style, I'm typically a participatory manager. It's my philosophy to empower our members with authority and responsibility. Truck committees are a good example of this. We appointed a truck committee. I give them a list of overall duties and what we're looking to accomplish. And I'm careful not to micromanage that committee. When the committee's done, I may insist on some things that were not included or things that I feel are important to include. But I strive to make sure I accept the recommendation of the committee. And along the way, I will provide additional guidance. It was the tanker committee is a good example. They did an excellent job. There are a few things we talked about and ended up getting that, but I think now that committee will have ownership of that truck when it comes in. In this day of electronic devices, communication takes place mostly via email. We strive to have monthly department meetings and officers meetings to give all members an opportunity to be heard. As far as the public, we strive to provide information and customer service to the community. We make every effort to participate in community activities like birthday parades. We provide information on the fire department activities on social media. We encourage our staff to go above and beyond at the scene of an emergency to assist the public. And I believe that the perception of the fire department is good. And it's something you can't give up on. You have to continue to make sure that we serve the public. As with any public safety organization, police, fire, ambulance, we occasionally have minor mishaps with apparatus. Most of these are minor in nature, and we make repairs in-house whenever possible. One of these minor mishaps occurred at the Ridge Station while I was backing in engine 3. The damage to the truck was one of the grab bars needed to be tightened up. If you've ever been to the Ridge Station, you'll see the sides of the door are pretty beaten up. The incident in question pulled off a piece of flashing. The flashing was in very poor condition before the incident. That the latest incident was the straw that broke the camel's back. Around the same time, we tore a piece of flashing off the Narrow Station due to a windstorm. I reached out to Steve Bailey, and he put us in contact with someone who makes such repairs to town buildings. He was scheduled to come, and I assume didn't want to do the job, so we'll have to find somebody else to do those 2 repairs for flashing. Given the lack of, let me make sure I'm on the right page here. All right, given the lack of storage we have at the stations, we tend to put things behind the Narrows Fire Station. Now that the snow is gone, we've begun the process of spring cleaning at the Narrows, and we will continue to clean up the back of the station. So I think that's all I have on management.
Okay. Further questions? Beth, go ahead.
So you had said that you prior to the cameras being installed, you brought that to the board. That I don't believe that to be true.
I said I brought it to several board members.
But we're not a board unless we're all together. Correct?
What board members did you bring that to, Chief?
I believe I talked with Selectman Fry and Chairman Kreider, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was part of the termination process discussion. I have to say I don't remember real well. Heather, do you want to speak up, please?
I think I recollect the conversation, and I know that former Chairman Breyer was informed as well.
Say that again, please.
I said I recollect the conversation. I remember former Chairman Breyer was informed as well.
Yeah,
so you only talked to a couple selectmen, not the whole board.
Yeah.
So how is that a legal, like a legal document? It's just like you want on this new town hall scheduling policy, everybody to be involved before they make a decision, but obviously that didn't happen. So maybe we need to look into that policy ourselves also, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we just need to tighten up.
That was part of my first meeting at the town hall, that the chief and Matt and you were in the back of the room, and I asked what were the big secret meetings, and you said, that's right, we need to stop this and get back to the regular meeting. So I mean, if we're gonna make a decision as a board, it's the full board, not 2 people on the side committee.
I think
bring it to the board.
I'm hearing you, and I agree.
So I don't know as I was seeking permission, but more seeking guidance. I believe under the state RSA as the fire chief, I have the authority to do that. And
seeking guidance from 2 board members is not seeking guidance from the board. And I thought changing any town building had to be a board approval.
I didn't change the building. I just put.
Well, you changed the building when you changed the building at the Narrows and you added bedrooms.
The board was apprised of that.
No.
Okay.
After the fact. That was one of my questions. I have 4. I waited. So the arm responding, that's been an issue of not everyone using it. As a matter of fact, we've actually had other towns come in to do mutual aid, even though we had enough members to do the transport, thus losing the transport. So I hope you're really enforcing everyone using the arm responding. The time clocks. That was brought up because you chose to check the door codes for one of your employees. Yet I don't believe any of the employees knew the door code might actually be potentially used as a time clock. Have you checked all the other employees? Because I had asked you for the data on the other ones and you were going to get back to me, but that was back in March.
I did check the data on the other ones. And like I said, our other people are coming in I would say the vast majority of the time on time or early.
I asked for that and you were going to get it to me and you haven't done it yet. So if anyone was actually late at all, they should actually probably also receive some type of discipline, which would go by the chain of command. You had said that you definitely are using the chain of command. I thought the fire department actually has an internal chain of command of officers. So are you using that, or are you bringing all issues directly to the TA? Or are you actually using the chain of command within your department, like you just had said you were?
I believe we are using the chain of command. That was an issue that was brought directly to me and directly impacted me. And that there are some things that that are critical enough that deserves the chief's attention, and I believe that was one of them.
So in March, you chose not to do that. So if one of your employees chose not to do that, how would you feel?
I didn't say I chose not to follow the chain of command. I said that was an issue that warranted the chief's attention. It was a personnel issue that needed to be dealt with.
So if you were late one time, should that have been talked to? Would your immediate supervisor of the chain of command, the department, speak to that person? Or should it have escalated to the point so that's what I'm asking.
So my understanding was this person was late since he started, and he was spoken to by the previous chief. And
were the documentations in the file stating that to be true?
I have no reason to believe the previous chief was being dishonest.
But were there documentation in the employee's file?
I don't know. I don't believe they were. Sometimes verbal reprimands are not recorded. That's the verbal reprimands.
Right. So a verbal is a verbal, but then you'd get a written per the town policy.
It depends on I wasn't here. I don't know the details. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But you did choose. That's why I'm asking you. I'm just, referring to the town policy, and you talked about chain of command.
I believe we followed the chain of command in this case. It was an issue that.
I hope so, because we'll be going to court soon. So I hope you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tim, you had a question?
Oh, no, I just saw Jim's light up again, so I don't know if he was.
Jim, did you have a question?
I'm just moving some papers around.
Okay. Well, I hope they're financial papers, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe about ambulance billing.
I think that I just going to say something here. I think both Beth and Tim brought up some good points. Also, like Beth said, she asked for certain data. I think as a board, we should probably, I'm going to put this down as an item. Board requests to department heads and stuff. I think there's a delicate balance between somebody like Beth saying, hey, I'd like to see certain things, and then demands that I might make, for example, of Catherine, that chew up, several hours of her time. And, I think I'm as guilty, maybe more than others on this item. So Beth, I think you raise a good point, or Tim, maybe you raised it. We need to be very, very careful about this. And I'm just going to say right up front, if we start seeing it happen, if you see it happen and it's me, I just would really appreciate if folks would just speak up so we can address it. Because if we're doing something that's incorrect, we need to stop. So just please do it. Tim.
Just going back to the door punches again, does that get, like you said, put into a computer so you can verify that? Let's say I'm coming on duty and you come out to meet me and we talk in the parking lot for 5 minutes or 15 minutes and going over, you had a couple calls and, hey, you might want to check the ambulance because, it looked like the, tire was low, whatever, something like that. And I walk in without punching in because the door was open. You open the door for me. So does every time a new guy comes on, you got to shut the door, physically punch the number in so it knows that I'm here on that schedule?
Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned that we're opening up ourselves to a lot of liability here going down some of this line of questioning. Specific to issues that are going to be forthcoming in a potential action brought against the town.
Well, we did ask if it could be public or non-public. That was asked.
Yeah, but I think what Matt's saying is it's possible that some of the questions we're asking could come up in a lawsuit. And that's a little bit different than this venue being public. I think that's what is that what you're
You have it exactly correct, yes.
So
I guess I was just asking a question because I wasn't involved in all that other stuff before.
Yeah,
so
no,
so I guess I didn't mean to. I didn't realize that myself, Matt. So I guess
no, I get it, but which is why I spoke up.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I guess I will retract that, or whatever. So
no, there's no need to retract it. You had a question, you ask it, and I think it's related to a question that came up earlier, which is, should we be considering time clocks? The chief has said, from his perspective, maybe not, but that doesn't mean we as a board can't decide to take some action on that as a board, meaning maybe we want, I'm not saying we do, but maybe we want time clocks for everybody.
well, the highway department does. So I mean, if
Yeah.
so maybe we need to discuss this at another date. So
Exactly, Tim. So yeah, so where's the consistency, and do we want to act on that? I think it's a perfectly good point. I think all Matt was trying to say is let's be a little bit careful about how far we go in the discussion, because it's a public discussion and there could be lawsuits associated with those components of it. So let's just be careful about that. So Beth, we interrupted some of your train of thought. Do you want to continue with some items? Beth, you're on mute. You're all set? Oh,
Well, stuff for now. Yep. Thank you.
okay. I just wanted to make sure. So again, I appreciate the discussion, and I'm just going to repeat what I said before. I personally don't have a problem with anybody speaking up. If there's an issue or concern with how I'm handling things, you need to do it. And I just hope and respect that you do that. Okay. That said, let's see, Chief, that was the management portion?
That's correct.
Okay, so now do you want to go on to the performance section, please?
Yeah, could I do the morale section first?
Huh. I guess my list was incomplete. Sorry. Yeah, what do you want to do next? I'm sorry.
Okay, so the next topic I have is morale.
Okay.
As I stated previous, it's my opinion morale of the department is on the upswing. We can seeing more members responding to calls, participating in activities, working shifts. Some members have come back who had not seen in months. That being said, the lockdown from COVID-19 has had an impact on morale. Factors such as fear of exposure, inability to get together for training and meeting has impacted morale. Morale is still high, and I'm sure it'll come back once the lockdown is lifted. It is my opinion morale has changed significantly with the change in personnel. Several members expressed that sentiment to me personally. We are handling 95% of our calls in the past 3 months. And I think that lends to the assertion that we weren't able to handle our own calls as being not true. As you may be aware, the department conducted a vote of confidence. I am told the vote was overwhelmingly supportive of the leadership and the management of the fire department. And as you can see by the recent letter from the firefighters, most of our staff are supportive of our leadership and the direction of the department. Moving our career operations to the Narrows Fire Station. At the time, I had no idea how much it would impact morale. The facility is a much nicer building. Backing into the Ridge Station is a nightmare. I believe it's an accident waiting to happen. So living at the Narrows Fire Station is safer. It's definitely a nicer facility. We're not listening to the traffic of Route 4, 24 hours a day. So that has definitely had a positive impact on morale. In December, we hosted an awards banquet. We recognized our members for service above and beyond the call of duty. We recognize members for years of service to the department. And hopefully we see all of the board members at our next awards banquet. Probably not in December because it's way too close to budget season. But that's what I have on morale.
Okay, so questions related to morale, anybody? Tim, go ahead, please.
No, I guess if I could just backtrack real quick, you brought up the backing in the Route 4, Ridge Station again. I guess I didn't realize we got off the backing into the station, with the ripping up the sheet metal, the flash. And do you have a ground guide out that day, Chief? Is there a ground guide available?
No, I was by myself.
Okay, that was it. No, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Beth, please go ahead.
The chief had said that they're now doing 95% of their calls. So we're doing 95% of the calls, including transports, or just we're actually going to 95% of the calls?
I believe it's, I would have to double check. I'm not sure how the report actually spells it out. I believe it's 95% of our transports, which may actually be 95% of our calls because so many of our calls are EMS. But I'd have to look at that report again to give you an accurate answer.
Our number of other towns than taking the revenues is down. That's good.
Yes, that is good.
Yeah, I guess that factors in also with us having the staff so that when we get there, we can transport them as opposed to having to let somebody else transport them. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So even though in the past we might have expended some of our resources, we didn't get, quote, financial credit for it. Whereas now we have a chance. Okay. Beth, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Okay, no, it's fine. So you brought lots of new applicants to us, which is great. You talked about maybe possibly having a third paramedic. Those have all been part-time so far. So there's still a vacancy for full-time. Do you foresee filling that?
I don't know at this point if we can afford to with the second year, basically the third year in a row of a level funded budget. I don't know if we can afford to do that. And I think moving forward, we'll have to look at that and see where our spending is. We spend a lot of money for COVID-19, and if we get that money back, maybe we can re-examine that. The advantage to part-time people is we don't have to pay benefits and benefits basically in retirement.
Yeah, and I guess just to piggyback on that, I have had a brief discussion with the chief regarding, how our, let's say we're at 90 to 95%, what would it cost us to get closer to 100%? And at least on my first pass at this, it looks like getting, essentially 5% more revenue would be way swamped out by the cost of the extra full-time people. So we'd have to look at that and see if there's other justifications for considering that. But I think we all need to recognize that, moving that last 5%, it's the old 80-20 rule or 99-1 rule. That last little bit gets more and more expensive. So we'll need to factor that in. And again, budget season's coming up, so we can have that discussion then. Beth?
I think last year I had asked the chief at a meeting what it would take to have, 24/7, 2 people covered. I think he said it was like 8 full-timers or 9 full-timers. So obviously the town can't afford 9 full-time people, not at this point anyway. So I mean, I appreciate him staffing as much as he can part-time as well as, our on-call people.
Yeah, I think we just have to keep that in mind. I mean, it'd be nice to have 100%, but there is definitely a cost associated with it, and we have to deal with that. Other questions? Okay, if not, Then Chief, do you want to move on to, I guess, the last of your topics?
Yes, we're nearing the end. Everyone cheer. Okay, so performance is the final topic. So rebuilding our call company. This project's never done. Over the past year plus, we've moved people who are inactive to our support company. The support company gives members an opportunity to stay in the fire department family, but for whatever reason are not able to contribute to fire department operations. Last year, we adjusted our ambulance billing rates. We found our billing rates were among the lowest in the region, just slightly higher than Medicare rates in some cases. We changed from an outdated method of billing called a la carte, where every procedure you do was billed, and went to a bundled billing system. A bundled billing system is, we tend to get more money from that based on the policies of the Affordable Care Act. Now our rates are approximately the region average. We picked middle of the road. We didn't go high, we didn't go low. We picked average, and I think we'll see the benefits of that. The night I was hired in Northwood, the department lost our only paramedic, and over the past year, we've been working to bring paramedic level service back to the community. After a couple misfires on paramedics, we were able to hire a paramedic, and after a few weeks, license our ambulance to the paramedic level again. Most recently, we've hired a second paramedic, and hopefully within the next week or two, we'll be seeking permission to hire a third paramedic. We've added a number of new call firefighters and EMTs to the roster, and with few exceptions, these members have been active in contributing to the department. Nationally, when you hire a new firefighter, call firefighter, you can expect only 1 in 3 to become contributing members of the department. So we're doing fairly well with that. Like I said, we have had a few misfires, but for the most part, our new people are doing well. One of our biggest accomplishments this year was putting our new breathing apparatus in service. This project included 40 new air packs, a compressor, a fill station in the Narrows Fire Station, a mobile fill station on Rescue 1. And this project significantly increases our capabilities and safety of our firefighters. Our old air packs were outdated and didn't provide a number of the safety features that our new air packs provide. In 2019, we operated the department under default budget. We made significant improvements in our department and our equipment, and we're still able to come in under budget. We upgraded both refrigerators at the stations. These appliances will help lower our electric bill into the future. We still installed a dishwasher in both stations. The total cost of these dishwashers was $25. If we even prevent 1 sick day, the cost of these appliances will be well worth it. With COVID-19, it's even more critical our dishes are sanitized in between uses. As I said numerous times here, not everyone's idea of clean is the same. So putting them through the dishwasher sets the standard. We've replaced a number of our nozzles. Our previous nozzles did not have adequate flow to effectively extinguish a fire in a modern structure. The new nozzles will flow much more water and thus absorb more BTUs in the fire. In some cases, the nozzles are flowing between 30 and 100 gallons more per minute. We put together a tanker committee, specified and ordered a new tanker. The new tanker is better equipped, will carry 3,000 gallons of water. The new truck will be equipped with a number of safety features like stability control, anti-lock braking. And our committee was able to get the truck that meets our needs and still come within budget. Using information from our previous ambulance committee, we were able to specify and order a new ambulance. We were able to secure a new to us replacement forestry truck. There was no cost to the town for the vehicle. The new truck will replace our 1970s Deuce and a Half. The new truck is a 2003 and when it's outfitted, the truck should provide years of service to the community. As part of our budget process, we were able to develop a capital improvements plan, and this CIP will give us a roadmap for capital purchases in the future. We're all continually learning, and some things with the benefit of hindsight I would do differently. And probably the most significant would be the formation of our support company. In some regards, the support company has been hugely successful. In others, it has been somewhat of a failure. A number of our longtime members were offended that as a chief, I had expectations that they contribute to our organization. Although I still feel a support company was the right thing to do. In some cases, there would have been a benefit to cutting ties with some of our members who are not contributing to the department. Lastly, although I've only been with the department a short time, it's my opinion the department's in far better shape. We're better able to provide service to the community. We're in better shape far better shape than when I arrived. That's all I have on performance.
Okay, so questions, anybody? Tim?
Going back to the forestry trucks, Chief, the new one that you just got, the old military, oh, well, they're all military trucks, but the one that's like 40 feet off the ground. When is that going to become in service?
We still have some work to do on that, and the firefighters are putting that together. We were able to secure a tank out of a fire truck, so it's actually baffled. So it'll prevent prevent sloshing a lot safer. We're hoping to have that in service within probably a month or so.
And the Deuce and a Half is ready to roll right now?
No, the Deuce and a Half has some issues with running, and we've stripped some of the equipment off it. And
the old little truck, the canvas truck that's backing behind the ambulance, needed a new starter. Has that been fixed yet?
That has been, yep.
So that's the only, technically right now, the little forestry truck to respond. I mean.
Yeah, we, okay. So the little forestry is the only forestry truck we have. Oftentimes we can get a pumper in or the tanker into the scene.
No, that was it. I just wanted to know, you had three of them. I just wanted to know, that was all, nothing really looking for.
No issue. So hopefully we'll get rid of the Deuce soon and it won't look like a used car lot here.
So that little one that you put the starter in is got a couple more years left there?
Who knows? We'll do our best.
No, thank you. No.
Beth, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Let me just double check something here myself. Yeah, okay. I guess I don't have anything either. So I guess, Chief, that wraps it up for you. I would like the board to just let me switch to the spreadsheet because there were some items here, and I'll just ask for your input on how we handle them. Please, just bear with me. So I'm going to paraphrase here, and I'm reading off, so I'm not making eye contact. But there are some things that really came up that I think what I will do in consultation with you guys, maybe at the next meeting, I'll just give you an example. Consistent termination process, accessing performance reviews. Some of these types of things really aren't questions for the chief. They're really questions for us to deal with. Although Tim, you brought up, discrepancies between the job contract and, we also have to deal with discrepancies, with the contract or the job and the personnel policy and stuff. So there's a list of them here. I'll leave it up to the board, but for right now, I guess what I'm going to suggest is that you let me get these onto the agenda, work them in as maybe a group that we address, maybe not at the next meeting because we got a lot on the plate, but very shortly thereafter, because they are things that I think we should deal with. Does anybody have suggestions for a different approach, or want to suggest a different approach? Or do you want to leave that up to me to get them on the agenda as we go over the next, say, 2 meetings?
So the June agenda?
Yeah, I think that's what I would like to target, Beth, just because the 26th is so busy. You know, we got stuff pushed from the other meeting and we got stuff added. I just like to not pile it on even more. So if you don't mind, that's what I'd suggest.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Yes, Jim, go ahead.
Are these comments pertaining to the chief or just comments in general?
Well, this is the last agenda item, so if you would like to add a topic, I'd have to say it would be at the board's discretion. I won't overrule you, but the board, go ahead, Jim.
Before the session with the chief, that I have a non-public personnel issue that I don't think should be in the public domain, but it should be taken up tonight in non-public.
Okay, how does the rest of the board feel about that? Well, I guess, Jim, if you want to do that, we need 2 parts to this. One, we need a motion and a positive vote, and then we need some help from either Lisa or Matt to set up a meeting. Is this?
It's all set up by Matt.
There's one set up.
There is one set up? Oh, okay. I guess did you send that out? I missed that, or? Well,
A few days ago.
Jeez, okay. I guess I'm just not keeping up. So I guess, Jim, you want to make a motion to go into non-public?
Yes, I'll make that motion to go into non-public under RSA. I don't have my 91A.
Blah, 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 A or C.
Personnel-related matters.
Okay. I forget okay, it's personnel-related matters, whether it's A or C. I guess we're just stating that's what it's about. Okay.
And I would only ask that just the Board of Selectmen be present during this non-public session.
Okay, are we talking about somebody though, Jim? Because they do have a right to be present.
Okay.
Have we?
Yeah, I can send you I can send you what the topic is, just to you, and you can make a decision.
No, we'll trust you on it. I mean, if we're okay, that's fine with me. Tim?
Did we ever get back from legal about the being in the room with the last 3 firemen that terminated? I don't think I ever got. I don't think I ever got a clear answer of if the person needs to be in the room or not. I'm just clarification.
Yeah, I'm going to let Heather speak to that. Take your mute off, Heather. Take your mute off, please. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I sent a response. I want to say quite a while back. It was a whole explanation, 91A, and it was in there. So if you
resend it, please, to refresh our memory.
If you don't have it, Tim, I'll get it to you, but I did send it.
Send it to everybody, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I have to tell you, Tim, I don't remember either. I'm sorry. Beth.
I'd like to thank the fire chief for having a gazillion and one answers for all of our questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. Before we wrap up, thank you, Chief. Matt?
There I am. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session on May 15th.
Oh, somebody's paying attention. Wow. Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. Do we have
don't take the thunder. I told him that that right after we all emailed. We left the meeting, so he's taking the thunder. So
Heather's
see how
waving her
it
hands
is.
frantically.
He
Okay.
wanted to come back and seal the minutes that night. Nobody wanted to, so we're gonna do it tonight.
Anytime there's something positive, everybody wants credit. I know. Okay. Now, Heather, we got to take care of this.
No, but I got to tell you something. I hate to bring up the bearer of bad news, but I looked into this and you have 72 hours to do that.
Oh.
Oh, way to go. Well, I'll just say this. We already talked about one of the things that we did in non-public, which was the vote that we took previously now or earlier in this meeting. So we got that part covered. I guess the rest of it remains unsealed. We'll just have to deal with that. Okay, well, I guess that was a good point, Heather. And I guess my apologies to everybody for not checking my emails and texts right after the meeting, because that's when it happened. Okay, so we're gonna have to be more diligent about that. So how about we wrap up with the chief? I'd like to formally thank you, Chief. I'm sure it was a lot of preparation. Oops, sorry, Beth, go ahead.
So Susan's saying something in the chat.
Oh. She's saying I'm doing the minutes.
I know, I think because we have a motion, but we didn't vote, she said.
That's true, we did not.
So
We did
Susan's
not.
like,
We got sidetracked by two
No,
things.
she's saying if we make any motions in non-public, she needs to know about them.
Making motions and taking votes.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
non-public.
okay, so
Also,
let's
whatever happens when you guys come out of non-public, can someone just email that to me so I can put it in the minutes? That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so just to recap where we last left our heroes, Matt tried to have us illegally seal the minutes from last. Yeah, way to go, Matt. Thanks. Illegally.
Well, that's right. It wasn't my idea. It was Matt's idea all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we had some discussion on that. Heather straightened this out. Thank you. We're back to Jim's original motion to go into non-public. Do we have a second on that? Okay, so Tim seconded it. I'm just going to go right into a roll call vote, and that will be Matt.
Al?
Oops, Jim.
Does everyone have what Matt sent out as far as the non-public meeting ID and password and all that?
If not, we'll find it, or we'll ask him to resend it. Probably the easiest, Matt, would be, could you just resend it so it's right at the top of our email list?
Sure can.
Yeah, a good point.
I saved mine.
Well, I saved mine too. I don't throw anything away, but finding is a different question. Yeah. Okay.
So can I get some clarification on, is this the board only, or is there someone else who needs the invitation, Jim?
Well, based on what Hal said, that if we're addressing an individual, that individual has the right to be present. So I would say that it's the board in that person.
Okay. Who's that person?
So that doesn't help me. Why don't I send it to the board, and Jim, you can send that to that person.
There you go. Does that work?
Okay.
I think that's the best way to play it. That's a good way. So,
You're the lucky one.
okay. So Jim, we're gonna assume that you're gonna email who else needs to be included. Thank you. Yep. Appreciate that. So again, I'm just for the record, for Susan to be clear, who seconded Jim's motion? That was you, Tim, correct? Okay, so now we're moving on to the roll call vote. Matt.
Yes.
Tim. Yes. No, Tim, you have to say yes. I can't say yes.
No. I'm trying to find my mute button. Yep, we're good. Yes, thank you. Yep, yes.
Didn't mean to speak for you. Jim.
Yes.
And Beth.
Yes.
Hal is yes also. Okay, so here's the drill. 3-minute bio break. And then look at the top of your emails and go into the non-public, please. And Lisa, I saw you yawning, so you sign off here and get some sleep.
Thank you.
Okay.
So she's gonna shut the YouTube stuff off? That shut off when everybody gets out?
How does that work, Lisa?